Chapter 258. Lone Moon hurriedly conjured a seal and guided the remnant soul. A moment later, two shadows appeared above the remnant soul. One was where the remnant soul was. That was where they were now. The other was a place filled with immortal chi. Huge, transparent, crystal-like mountains floated all around them. There were even shadows of palaces on them. "This is the 1,000-feet mountain," Zhu Ming exclaimed. "Where is the 1,000-feet mountain?" Lone Moon asked anxiously. "That's Supreme Divinity Qian Yu's residence. It's at the easternmost part of the divine world." Zhu Ming frowned. "Supreme Divinity Qian Yu may be cold, but he has a good reputation in the divine world. He's a very righteous person. I don't think he would set up such a vicious array. Why would the person you're looking for be there?" "We'll only know when we get there." "Thank you, fellow Taoist Jew." Lone Moon nodded at him and turned to the other two. "Let's go. Let's go find her." I Ching did not hesitate. He summoned his flying sword. Shining grabbed the ball containing Shorty's remnant soul and jumped onto Chef's sword. They flew out of the mystic realm. When the three of them reached the 1,000-feet mountain, they finally understood why it was called the 1,000-feet mountain. They saw huge crystal-like mountains floating in the air. They shone with a silver-white light. Moreover, these crystal mountains were moving. They looked like a huge array formation. The mountains were also translucent. It was easy to get lost inside. Lone Moon subconsciously glanced at Shining. He turned and instructed I Ching sternly, "Look after her. We're only looking for Shorty this time. We can't get separated again." According to Zhu Ming, Supreme Divinity Qian Yu's cultivation level is very high. We can't tell if he's a friend or foe. Shorty is in his hands. Before we find her, don't act rashly. He added, "You still have aura-concealing talismans, right?" "Yes." I Ching retrieved a few aura-concealing talismans. "Give me 2. Lone Moon took them and gestured for I Ching to put 2 on as well. "Try not to alert anyone. Do you understand?" "Yes, yes, yes." The two of them nodded. "Let's go." "Wait, Father Nyo." "What now?" "Are you sure?" Shining scanned him from head to toe, at the bright red wedding robe he was wearing. "Are you sure you want to go in like this?" *CK. It was all because of these two that he had forgotten to change back. Lone Moon conjured a seal and was just about to remove the shape-shifting spell on his body and turn back into a man. He turned to look at a certain foodie, and with a flick of his wrist, he cast another transfiguration technique. In an instant, the figure changed into a familiar yet strange face, Xin Ying's face. The two of them, "What are you looking at?" Lone Moon glared at the two of them. "Becoming like this is better than any aura-concealing talisman." I Ching. What she said made sense and he couldn't refute her. Shining. Motherf *her. "Let's go." Lone Moon rode on his sword and flew forward, bypassing the crystal floating peaks one by one. He released his divine perception to the fullest, paying attention to everything around him. The strange thing was that along the way they did not see any other Protoss. Not only that, these crystal floating peaks did not seem to have any array fluctuations. Apart from floating here and there, they did not seem to have any other effect. Gradually, on top of the crystal floating peaks, some palaces appeared. Lone Moon took out the transmission talisman that he had given to Shorty previously, and sent a bit of immortal chi into it, but there was still no response. The crystal floating peaks seemed to have the ability to block signals, and he could not contact Shorty at all. "Shit." He cursed under his breath. "There are too many crystal peaks here, the transmission talisman is completely useless. Why don't we split a few?" I Ching subconsciously pulled out his sword. "You're crazy." Lone Moon rolled his eyes. "Do we still want to save Shorty? Can you two violent maniacs stop coming up with such lousy ideas? What if the other party gets angry and kills her? Invincible sect only has one sword cultivator disciple left. Then what do? We can only search slowly." Lone Moon looked at the terrain and waved at the two of them. "I just looked at the movement pattern of these crystal peaks, they should all be floating in the west direction. There are no array formations in the middle to control them, and the deeper we go, the more palaces there are." He pointed to the front and said, "So I guess that these crystal peaks should be circular around something, a natural maze. Shorty should be in the innermost position. Although flying in a straight line is the fastest way to get there, there must be some kind of connection between these crystal peaks. However, there must be some kind of connection between these crystal peaks. There shouldn't be anything that can directly lead to the center. Master, be careful." Before he finished speaking, I Ching suddenly pulled Shining and retreated to the left. Rumble! Instantly there was a loud sound, and a huge aura swept over, brushing past Lone Moon's right side. The crystal peaks in front of them seemed to explode side by side, breaking into pieces and falling from the sky. A wide path suddenly appeared on the right side, and they could faintly see the palaces inside. There's a direct path. Shining pointed to the front. Lone Moon, son of AB***, bring him along and dodge, will you die? Fu***. In the next moment, two shocking suppressive forces came from the front. Even I Ching frowned uncomfortably. The surrounding crystal peaks kept breaking. Lone Moon set up a defensive array around himself. There are people fighting in front. Judging from this suppressive force, their cultivation level must be. Before he finished speaking, his eyes widened. I feel Shorty's aura, it's over there. I Ching paused. He sensed carefully and found a familiar immortal chi. The two of them exchanged a look and immediately flew in that direction. The deeper they flew, the more broken crystal peaks they saw. There were even pieces of palaces floating around. In the distance there seemed to be two figures fighting, one in green and one in white. They could not see clearly, but the aura around them was shocking. Compared to the battle between Long Zhen and Feng San, it seemed even more intense. Even though it was just a wave of suppressive force, Lone Moon felt the immortal chi in his body stagnate. He looked up at the two people in the sky. Chef, don't you think that white figure looks familiar? I Ching looked up and nodded. Yes, a little. But he could not remember. In the next moment, an impatient voice came from the other side. I told you I don't know the person you're looking for. No matter how many times you ask, it's the same. I don't know her. The person on the other side did not respond. The voice spoke again, this time in a serious tone. I've already saved the person you asked me to save. It's been so many years, why do you have to keep pestering me? A moment later, a cold voice spoke. She also said, You. Where is she? Don't go too far. The two of them started fighting again. Why did it feel like that voice sounded familiar? Chapter 259. Before Shining and the others could think about it, an even stronger suppressive force swept over them. There was another rumbling sound, and the surrounding crystal peaks were destroyed. I Ching hurriedly released his dragon might to protect the two people beside him. Shining was stunned. She pointed to the right and said, Hey, isn't that Shorty? The two of them paused and looked in the direction she was pointing. Indeed, there was a person flying in the upper right. She was dressed in a pink robe and had a defensive array around her. She was looking at the two people fighting in front of her anxiously. The two of them were overjoyed. They were about to go forward when Shining raised her hand and shouted, Hey, Shorty! In an instant, these 4 words spread throughout the entire Thousand Mountains range. Even the two people fighting in the sky were stunned. I Ching, Lone Moon. He had the urge to deduct all the food expenses. What happened to coming secretly? Did she know what low key was? Xian Tong's body stiffened. She turned around in disbelief. Her face was filled with joy. She immediately flew over on her sword. Sect Master. Just as she was about to pounce on them, there was a flash of white light. The white figure that was originally fighting suddenly descended toward them at a speed faster than Shorty. I Ching and Lone Moon finally saw the figure clearly. They were both stunned. Bai Zhe. 2 inches the next moment, the figure appeared in front of the 3 of them. She looked over with excitement and disbelief. Then, she hugged Father Nyo beside her. Shining, I Ching, Father Nyo, who was stiffened in the hug. For all. Huh? In the next moment, Bai Zhe's cold and excited voice rang in their ears. Shin. For a long time she could not say the next word. Her ears turned red. Sect Master. Shorty finally flew down and buried her head in Xin Ying's arms. Her expression of ecstasy just a moment ago suddenly changed. She cried so loudly that it shook the heavens. Sect Master, you're finally here. I knew that you would definitely come to save me, I Ching. Little bitch. Yes, I'm here. Shining patted her on the back. Don't cry. Her clothes were brand new. Bai Zhe, who was carrying Lone Moon, paused. He looked at Shining in his arms and then at the person beside him who looked exactly the same. There were 2 Shining? Shin, your sister. Lone Moon, who finally reacted, exploded. Look carefully before you hug her. Bai Zhe finally understood and pushed Lone Moon away without hesitation. In a flash, he appeared in front of Shining as if nothing had happened. He finally managed to say her name. I really miss you. Shining finally managed to pull the slug out from in front of her. The next moment she saw his starry eyes. Stunned, she asked, "Who are you?" "Bai Zai, I Ching, Lone Moon." He could faintly hear the sound of a knife piercing his heart. The starlight was extinguished. "Bai Zai, is this the person you're looking for?" A questioning voice suddenly rang out in the sky, and the person who had been fighting with Bai Zai also flew down. Only then did everyone see who it was. He was dressed in a green robe with black hair draped over his shoulders. His face was like jade, and his entire body exuded a refreshing aura that was exceptionally familiar. Apart from his pair of black eyes, which lacked a bit of liveliness, he was simply Father Nyo. Tu I Ching and Shen Ying exclaimed at the same time. "Lone Moon, what the hell was this?" Thousand Legs Hall. Lone Moon, who had already returned to his original appearance, looked at the person sitting in the main seat and felt awkward all over. They really looked exactly the same. If not for the fact that they were wearing different clothes, he would have had the illusion that he was looking at himself in the mirror. "Father Nyo, you have a brother too?" Shen Ying could not help but ask. "Get lost." Lone Moon rolled his eyes. "Who had a brother? I didn't think that there would really be someone who looks exactly like me in this world." Chen Yu looked at Lone Moon with some surprise. His brows were knitted together as if he was used to it. He looked dignified. "Supreme Divinity Chen Yu really isn't Elder Lone Moon." Xian Tong was also a little confused. She looked back and forth between the two people who looked exactly the same. Not only did they look similar, even their auras were similar. It was just that one was filled with immortal chi and the other was filled with god power. "So it's all because I got the wrong person." Chen Yu snorted coldly. Still with some anger, he said, "Bai Zai, what else do you have to say now?" The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Ever since he first met Bai Zai many years ago, Bai Zai had been forcing him to ask about Sect Master Shen's whereabouts. No matter what he said, Bai Zai did not believe him. What's more, he had been guarding the 1,000-Feet Mountain for many years. He had been forced into a corner and even fought over a disagreement. The entire 1,000-Feet Mountain had been destroyed countless times. Now it seemed that he had suffered an undeserved calamity. "I told you long ago that I don't know the person you're looking for. All these years you kept asking me about her whereabouts. Do you believe me now? All these years you've been at my 1,000... Bai Zai, Bai Zai?" Qian Yu called out twice, but realized that Bai Zai was not even listening to him. A pair of slightly cold eyes were currently staring at the woman beside him. His clear eyes were filled with the image of the woman beside him. From time to time, he would pass something over to her in a fawning manner. "Fruit? Oh. Tea. Pastries. Thank you." Bai Zai's eyes lit up even more. His ears started to turn red again. Patches of red began to spread, and even his hair started to be dyed red. A moment later he replied in a low voice, "You're welcome." At that moment, everyone could faintly see pink bubbles appearing around them. Xian Tong, Xian Yu, Lone Moon, I Ching's face darkened as his position was stolen. He resisted the urge to draw his sword. Yu Zhong felt that his kick back then was too light. He stepped forward angrily and said, "Supreme Divinity, you don't have to worry about Master's matters." "You are." Bai Zai hesitated for a moment. He took a closer look at the other party's aura and immediately recognized who it was. His expression turned cold. Why was this annoying person still here? He frowned but did not let go of the plate in his hand. Still looking. The corner of I Ching's mouth twitched. He took a step to the side, wanting to block the two of them. Unfortunately, because of his height, his small body could not block the two of them. So, he climbed onto the table. With the advantage of being a head taller than the other party, he stared coldly at the other party. "What are you looking at, little bitch?" At that moment, the two of them were in such a strange position, staring at each other with big and small eyes. Lone Moon. King retard. He really wanted to pretend that he did not know these two people. Lone Moon frowned and nudged Xian Tong beside him. He lowered his voice and said, "Little shorty, what exactly is going on? Didn't I ask you to wait for me in the forest? How did you get here?" "Elder, I was indeed waiting for you there. But the ghost immortal suddenly chased after me. I could not defeat him. Fortunately, Supreme Divinity Bai Zai happened to pass by. I told him that I was a disciple of Invincible Sect. He saved me and brought me here." Chapter 260. Lone Moon thought about it carefully. When they were in the forest previously, they only cared about the remaining Yin Qi and neglected the remaining god power around them. After all, that place was close to Wuxia Mountain. It was normal for there to be god power. "After I woke up, I mistook Supreme Divinity Chen Yu for you. That's why I asked for the sect master's whereabouts. Xian Tong continued. Supreme Divinity Bai Zhe and Supreme Divinity Chen Yu got into a fight. Then, you guys came. So that's what happened. So it was Bai Zhe who saved her? He turned to look at the person sitting at the head of the table. Chen Yu's face was as black as ink. He looked like he was trying his best not to attack. Bai Zhe had obviously mistaken Chen Yu for him and wanted to find out where Shining was. From his expression, Bai Zhe had been harassing him all these years. The corner of Lonman's mouth twitched. He said in a low voice, "Since Shorty has been found, we won't disturb you anymore." He stood up. This was too embarrassing. They had better leave. Leave? The anger on Chen Yu's face grew. He snorted and said, "My 1,000-feet mountain is not a place where you can come and go as you please. You've destroyed so many of my crystal peaks. Are you going to go back on your words?" Lonman's heart sank. He knew it would not be so easy to leave. Supreme Divinity Chen Yu is too serious. We are not that kind of people. My invincible sect is a righteous sect. We have always been fair and impartial in our dealings. We are not biased, Lone Moon said seriously. So, every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. Look for the culprit. Without hesitation he threw the blame to Lone Moon. As long as the few of them could leave it was fine. The others understood immediately. Therefore, all eyes in the room turned to look at a certain white figure. It's him, it's him, it's him. Our scapegoat. Bai Zhe. His expression stiffened. He finally turned to look at Chen Yu. Perhaps because he was really in the wrong, he stepped forward and said, "This is indeed my fault. I will compensate you." With that said, he turned and walked out the door. Everyone looked at each other and followed him out. He stood on the platform in front of the palace and chanted a long string of strange incantations. Not long after, a huge array appeared under his feet. He waved his hand and the formation began to rise slowly, growing larger and larger. In a short while, it had already enveloped half of the sky, and a bright white light shone. In the next moment, the ground shook and a large number of crystal fragments rose into the air. As if they were being pulled by something, they began to gather and reform, forming many tall crystal peaks. As if time had been reversed, the crystal peaks that filled the sky once again appeared in the surroundings. There were no signs of damage at all. Everyone present was stunned. It was not that there were no sorcery spells that could repair damaged objects, and apart from Shining who did not know any sorcery, even Shorty would not find it difficult to repair a palace. But this was the first time they had seen an array that could repair hundreds of floating peaks in an instant. As expected of the primordial divine beast clan. Chen Yu sighed as her eyes darkened. Bai Zhe had already turned around and walked straight towards Chen Yu. With a turn of his hand, a blue pearl suddenly appeared in his hand. He handed it over and said, "This is the soul-suppressing pearl that you wanted. In this way can we write off what happened before?" Chen Yu took the soul-suppressing pearl and something flashed across his eyes. After a while, he nodded and said, "In that case I will not pursue the matter." He turned to look at the floating peaks in the sky and suddenly thought of something. But, the crystal peaks have been repaired, and more than 10 of the 81 palaces of the Thousand Mountains mountain have been destroyed. They should also be repaired as before. Bai Zhe nodded. All right. With that said, he turned and flew towards the various floating peaks, and began to repair the palaces. The palaces of the Thousand Mountains mountain were different from other places. Although most of them were not big, they were all on the crystal peaks. Some of the cave abodes were even more hidden and difficult to detect. That was why Bai Zhe's array previously did not repair the palaces above. But after all, they were only palaces. Compared to the crystal peaks, they were much simpler. More than 10 palaces could be repaired in at most 4 to 6 hours. But, why did they have to repair it too? Lone Moon glared angrily at a certain person who was still circling around Fudi Shen. That kick he gave back then was really too light. Wait. Shining, what are you doing? Put down that roof beam. Help. Help my ass, the roof beam has been broken. Eat your fruits properly, can't you go and slack off? Oh. And Bai Zhe, stop snatching chef's plate. You destroyed this place, can you have some self-awareness? Didn't you hear that Chen Yu said that no one could leave before the repairs were completed? King retard, do you still want to leave here or not? Father Nyo felt so tired. Apart from little Shorty, everyone else was a burden to him. Little Shorty, come over for a while. Finally there was only one palace left. Lone Moon heaved a sigh of relief and waved at Xian Tong. Xian Tong flew over directly. Elder, what instructions do you have? I saw that when you made the seals just now, you were much slower than usual. Are you injured? Xian Tong's expression darkened. She lowered her head and said, "Yes. I'm slightly injured." "Give me your hand." Lone Moon first checked her meridians, then activated a bit of immortal qi. He put a finger between her brows and looked at her primordial spirit. He was shocked to find that although her body was not injured at all, for some reason, her primordial spirit was extremely unstable, as if it could come out at any time. "This is called a slight injury?" Lone Moon's expression darkened. How could this be? When they separated she was clearly fine. Was it that ghost immortal who injured you? Xian Tong nodded honestly. "Didn't I tell you to take care of yourself and run if you can't win?" Primordial spirit injuries were not like physical injuries. It was very difficult to heal. It looked like nothing, but if one was not careful, one's soul would be destroyed. The others also looked at little Shorty worriedly. Xian Tong lowered her head even more and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Elder Lone Moon. My cultivation level is too low, that's why." "What are you apologizing for? This is not your fault." Lone Moon was a little irritated. She must have undergone the soul transfer spell before entering the blood soul array. I Ching also checked her injuries and said in a low voice, "This body is not hers in the first place. Now that she has been injured by the ghost immortal's Yin Qi, that's why her primordial spirit is unstable." Lone Moon fell silent. He looked at Xian Tong beside him. Why did this unlucky child always get herself into trouble? "Do you have a way?" Xining turned to look at the person beside her. Bai Zhe, who was suddenly called out, paused. His eyes lit up. "Yes." He nodded hard, faster than ever before. His gaze was fixed on Xin Ying's face for a while, then he subconsciously turned his head away. His face was burning red. After a while he said, "But you have to follow me back to Baiyun Mountain." Chapter 261. "Do you really have a way to cure little Shorty?" Lone Moon asked anxiously. Bai Zhe looked at Lone Moon. His blush faded a little and he spoke more fluently. "There's a spirit spring on White Cloud Mountain that can nourish the soul." Lone Moon was overjoyed. "All right, let's go now." The few of them finished repairing the palace and flew back to the main hall. Lone Moon said to Qian Yu, who was supervising them, "Supreme Divinity Qian Yu, the palace has been repaired. Sorry for the disturbance. We are in a hurry to treat our disciples' injuries and will not stay any longer." Qian Yu did not continue to make things difficult for them. He nodded and said, "Since the Thousand Mountains mountain has been repaired, I will not force you to stay." He turned to look in Xian Tong's direction. As if guessing what they were thinking, he added, "This Miss Xian Tong's primordial spirit is unstable. Even with the spirit spring, she needs immortal qi to protect her from time to time in order to recover." "Thank you, Supreme Divinity Qian Yu, for telling us." The few of them did not stay any longer. They all flew out on their flying swords. Qian Yu conjured a seal and the surrounding crystal peaks opened up a path to the outside world. "Aren't you coming?" Xining suddenly turned and asked. Qian Yu paused. He looked around and realized that Xining was asking about him. He thought about it carefully and remembered that this was the woman Bai Zhe had been waiting for all these years. He could not remember her name and replied, "It's not convenient for me to leave the Thousand Mountains mountain. Forgive me for not seeing you off." Xining tilted her head. "What? Aren't you injured too?" Qian Yu paled. Something flashed across his eyes. He immediately replied, "I was slightly injured when I fought with Bai Zhe just now. I'll be fine after resting for a while." Xining did not ask further. Within seconds they disappeared into the horizon. "Little Shorty, how are your injuries?" The moment they left the 1,000-feet mountain, Lone Moon summoned the huge fan-shaped Dharma artifact and pulled everyone over. He asked with a serious expression. "I'm fine for now." Xian Tong shook her head. "My primordial spirit is only unstable. I'm not injured. As long as it's not an out-of-body spell, I'll be fine." Lone Moon nodded. "I didn't ask you before. Did you see the ghost immortal who attacked you clearly?" "This." Xian Tong frowned and said, "That person's entire body is filled with Yin Qi. My cultivation is too low, so I can't see his face clearly." "Is it a woman?" She thought about it carefully and shook her head. "No. Although I couldn't see his face clearly, his figure was definitely not that of a woman." Lone Moon and I Ching exchanged a look. Their expressions darkened. It looks like Mother Feng did not attack her. The other party's target is obvious. "It's Shorty's soul," I Ching said in a low voice. "Even if they manage to avoid it this time, they will only be more careful next time." "That's right. Right now we still don't know who they are or why they are targeting you. Lone Moon's expression became more and more serious. Before that, you better not leave our side. To be more precise, you better not leave Xin Ying's side. All right, disciple understands. Xian Tong's eyes lit up. She looked as if she had won some unexpected prize. I will definitely not leave sect master. I Ching, Lone Moon. He suddenly felt as if he had made a wrong decision. Could they really return to the immortal realm safely? Lone Moon nudged the person who was chewing on a fruit beside him. Xinying, why are you? Before he could finish, Xinying's eyes suddenly lit up. She exclaimed loudly, I remember now. What? Everyone was shocked. What did she discover? Xinying turned and pointed at the person beside her. So you're that fur ball? I Ching, Lone Moon, Xian Tong, Bai Zai, you only freaking recognized me now. Bai Yun Mountain was Bai Zai's residence. Compared to the cold and hard crystal peaks of Thousand Feet Mountain, the sea of clouds of Ling Tai Mountain, the greenery of Wuxia Mountain and the volcanoes of the Dragon Abyss, Bai Yun Mountain lived up to its name. Hidden among the layers of white clouds, its white palaces were blindingly bright. The surroundings were filled with blue god power. It was not as cold and dignified as the other divine venerables. Along the way there were all kinds of immortal beasts and demons. Among them there were even divine beings. It was very lively. Lone Moon and the others finally had the time to understand the basic situation of the divine underworld. Unlike the immortal realm, the people of the divine realm were more relaxed. They did not have the concept of territory, nor did they have the complicated division of continents. Basically, the people of the divine realm could go wherever they wanted, as long as they did not barge into other people's homes. In the divine realm, apart from the various divine races, there were all kinds of legendary ferocious beasts, auspicious beasts and wild demons. There were also those who were originally immortal cultivators before the divine realm and immortal realm were separated. There were high and low cultivation levels among the gods. Among them, the 4 divine races were the strongest. They were the dragon, phoenix, qilin and black tortoise. But the qilin and black tortoise had long been extinct since ancient times. The dragon and phoenix races had always been at odds with each other and would often fight. All in all, the divine realm was a free-range place. It was no wonder that they fell out with the immortal realm. They were clearly stronger than the immortal realm, but in the end, the divine realm ascended to the underworld and did not fight to the end with the immortal realm. And among all the divine races, there were only 5 people who could be called divine venerables. Perhaps it was a coincidence, but Xinying and the others had all interacted with them. There was no need to talk about Long Zhen and Feng San. They were Chef's parents. Apart from Bai Zai, there was also Supreme Divinity Hong Yu. Bai Zai said that he was formed from a green lotus at the beginning of the world. He was the only plant that became a god. He was pure and had no conflicts with the world. That was why he was the only god that had lived since ancient times. Usually his only hobby was to give lectures. More than 90% of the gods in the divine realm had attended his lectures. And that supreme divinity Qianyu, who looked exactly like Lone Moon, was the only human god that ascended from the immortal realm and became a supreme divinity. Speaking of which, Father Nyo, you look different from how you look on television. Xinying glanced at him suspiciously. As a well-known citizen's father who would bring money every time he asked for it, she still had some impression of him. What's with that look? Lone Moon rolled his eyes at her. Keep that expression of suspicion that I've gone through plastic surgery. She did not mention plastic surgery. The reason why I look different from before is because when I ascended to the nascent soul stage, I went through a body purification. Lone Moon waved the fan in his hand and said with some pride, I'm not your chef. I don't have a natural sword body. That's why I could only take advantage of the nascent soul heavenly tribulation to use the lightning tribulation to refine my body and cleanse my meridians. Of course I look different. Oh. Xinying thought about the girls of the rainbow sect. Indeed, after going through the lightning tribulation they all looked different. They even learned to transform. The way I look now is the way I look at the beginning after I purify the impurities in my body. Lone Moon's expression was serious as he said word by word, my old man was born this handsome, alright? Where's your shame? Chapter 262. As for why that Qianyu looks exactly like me, I don't know either. Perhaps it was a coincidence? Lone Moon frowned, suddenly remembering something. Xinying, don't you think? He was just about to speak when Bai Zai suddenly appeared beside the two of them, looking at Xinying eagerly. And come here. What's the matter? Xinying lay on the table, not wanting to move. Did something happen to Shorty? Lone Moon stood up anxiously. Shorty had been soaking in the spirit spring for 3 days and there was still no movement. She's fine. She can come out tomorrow. Now that it was Loneman's turn, his speech became smoother. There's just a place that I want to bring Shin Ing over to have a look. I'm not going. Shin Ing rejected immediately. She was not interested in anything that required movement. Bai Zhe froze and looked at her anxiously. Suddenly remembering something, he took out a bag and handed it over. Here. What? Shin Ing took it. The moment she pulled it open, something slid out. It was a long, slippery and wet body. It fell on the table with a thud and kept twisting. What the hell? Could this be an octopus? Lone Moon poked the claw on the table with his fan. It's a 1,000-clawed beast, Bai Zhe replied and turned to look at Shin Ing with a blushing face. Can I eat it? Nodding furiously, he thought for a moment and added, there are a lot of them, Father Nyo. Shin Ying's eyes brightened. It was written all over her face. Think, think, think. Seafood, seafood, seafood. For all? If you want to go, you go. I'm not going. Lone Moon glared at Foodie Shin. I don't want to help you carry your things. You should have said so earlier. Let's go. Shin Ing stood up quickly, grabbed Bai Zhe and rushed out without looking back. I haven't had seafood in a long time. Wait. Lone Moon called out anxiously. Don't forget what we just said. Now, got it? A reply came from the other side and the figure completely disappeared. Lone Moon narrowed his eyes and sat back down. A while later, a certain chef walked out with a dish in each hand. He glanced at the empty seat and was stunned for a moment. Where's Master? He didn't even eat lunch. This was the first time. Lone Moon looked up at him. He was abducted by an octopus. I Ching's face darkened. Why didn't you stop Master? Why should I stop her? Lone Moon asked in return. He looked at Chef, who looked like he wanted to kill someone. Something flashed across his eyes and he sighed. A grown girl can't be kept at home. Instantly I Ching's face darkened. He wanted to kill Beast. Bai Zhe brought Shin Ing to a huge lake. The lake water was so clear that one could see the bottom, like a sapphire falling onto the ground. The lake was so big that one couldn't even see the end of it. Furball, how do we catch it? Shin Ying's eyes brightened as a list of aquatic products flashed across her mind. Should I drain the water? Bai Zhe was stunned by her sparkling eyes. He blushed again and turned his head away as if he was scalded. Wait a minute. As he spoke, he took 2 quick steps and stopped at the side of the water. He conjured a seal and a light flashed. A series of bubbles appeared on the surface of the lake. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the water. A middle-aged man floated on the surface of the water. He was dressed in black, but his lower body had octopus legs covered with suction cups. This was that octopus? 1,000 Claws greets the supreme divinity. The man bowed respectfully to Bai Zhe and swam to the shore while twisting his numerous legs. Bai Zhe nodded and regained his cold demeanor. He stretched out his hand and said, Give it to me. Supreme divinity, you've finally made up your mind to clean up the demonic beasts in this lake. 1,000 Legs was overjoyed and excited. 1,000 Leaf Lake was just below White Cloud Mountain. Many demonic beasts had appeared in the water. Although they were all mutated aquatic beasts without sentience, there were too many of them. What's more, they would occasionally attack the gremlins that passed by. As time went by, no one dared to come here anymore. Some people begged the Supreme Divinity to help, but for some reason the Supreme Divinity could not make up his mind to clean them up. He only sent 1,000 Legs to guard the lake to prevent the demonic beasts from hurting people. Now that the Supreme Divinity finally decided to get involved, 1,000 Legs felt energized. He hurriedly stretched out his hand and plucked a strand of hair. The strand of hair instantly turned into a wriggling octopus leg. He handed it over with both hands. Supreme Divinity, I'm ready. Bai Zhe took it and turned to hand it to Shin Ing. Fishing? Oh. Shin Ing glanced at the octopus leg that was thicker than a thigh. She only knew how to eat. This leg was suitable for barbecuing. Exalted Goddess. 1,000 Legs hurriedly explained, demonic beasts are most familiar with my aura. As long as you throw this into the water, you will naturally be able to lure them out. Shin Ing took the octopus leg and turned to ask, won't it hurt? Although he had many legs. 1,000 Legs laughed. Exalted Goddess, you worry too much. This is formed from my hair. It only carries my aura. It's not a real leg. Oh. She threw it into the water and instantly flew a few hundred meters away. Just as it was about to fall into the water, the originally calm lake surface suddenly turned into a huge wave. Tens of huge black fish broke through the water. Their green scales shone with a golden light when the sun shone on them. The one at the front bit the octopus leg and fell into the water. As if they had discovered the people on the shore, they turned and rushed over. The waves on the lake were instantly more than 100 feet high. One could faintly see hundreds of pairs of blood-red eyes staring at them. Oh no, it's actually a school of green sand demonic fish. Thousand Legs was shocked. This type of demonic fish usually lived in schools. There were tens to hundreds of them in a school. They were huge and very ferocious. Supreme Divinity, why don't we? Before he could finish, Baizé just raised his hand and waved. In an instant, tens of thousands of wind blades flew toward the waves and hit the school of demonic fish. In the next moment, the huge waves subsided. A school of human-sized fish floated on the surface of the lake. Thousand Legs. As expected of a supreme divinity, Shining had already rushed over excitedly to pick up the fish. She grabbed one fish with each hand. There were so many fish. She had to get Chef to boil them, steam them, roast them, and grill them one by one. Furball, this method of yours is really effective. Baizé's face turned red. He hurriedly followed and then silently took out a storage bag and handed it over. Xinying's eyes lit up. She took it and patted his shoulder hard. With a serious expression she said, I like people like you who know what to do. With that said, she opened the storage bag and started stuffing fish into it. Baizé's entire body froze. The redness on his face and his black hair were instantly dyed red. He vaguely felt something explode and his mind went blank. She just said like? Oh, asterisk. Q. After a long time, he finally replied in a low voice, me, too. Chapter 263. Shining had collected most of the fish. The storage bag that Furball gave her seemed to be especially big. Even after collecting more than 100 fish, it was still not full. Furball, are there any other aquatic products? The man, who had been frozen for a long time, finally regained his composure and nodded. Yes. With that said, he flew up into the sky, clenched his fists by his side and reached out to Shining. I'll bring you there. All right. Shining jumped onto the cloud. Let's go. Baizé retracted his hand in disappointment. Shining turned to Thousand Legs. That fish bait? Octopus? What's that again? Thousand Legs. Baizé reminded. Oh brother Thousand Legs. Let's go. Don't fall behind. Thousand Legs. She called him fish bait just now. She definitely did, right? Supreme Divinity, are you really here to clean up the aquatic demonic beasts? But why are you collecting the corpses of the demonic beasts? Some demonic beasts that don't even have inner cores are useless to bring back. Thousand Legs followed her with a confused look. But the same thing happened again. He pulled out his hair to attract the demonic beasts, and then the Supreme Divinity killed them. The two of them happily went down to pick up the corpses, and they didn't even ask for his help. This happened many times until they went around the entire lake. Thousand Legs suddenly had a scary guess. Supreme Divinity didn't clean up the demonic beasts in the lake all these years. Was she purposely keeping them so that this exalted goddess could come and pick up the corpses? No, my Supreme Divinity definitely doesn't have such a hobby. It must be an illusion. An hour later. Supreme Divinity. Thousand Legs said weakly. Why don't we stop here for today? Baizé finally turned to look at him. Are the demonic beasts in the lake all gone? No. The demonic beasts are not all gone, but I'm almost done pulling out my hair. Pulling out 1 or 2 strands of hair at a time was nothing. It didn't affect his cultivation and he usually lost quite a lot of hair. But he couldn't keep pulling it out. If this went on he would really go bald. Baizé, Shining glanced at his obviously shiny head and coughed. Then let's go back. Chef should be done cooking. All right. Baizé turned to fly back. Wait. Shining suddenly spoke. She divided the storage bags in her hands into 3 equal portions and handed them to Thousand Legs. Here yours? Thousand Legs glanced at the bag with a dumbfounded expression. What was this for? Dismemberment? Or a threat? The Thousand Claws is from the Water Tribe. These demonic beasts do not have spiritual intelligence and do not have inner dawn, so they are useless to him, Baizé explained. So, he doesn't eat seafood? Shining paused. After thinking for a while, she reached into her pocket and took out a pearl. She handed it to Thousand Legs and said, Why don't I give you this? Chef gave it to me. He has no use for it but you should be able to use it. This is a dragon ball. Thousand Claw's eyes widened and he rubbed his eyes. Only a natural-born true dragon would be born with a dragon pearl, which was used for inheritance. Although the divine power inside the dragon pearl was no longer useful to the dragon tribe, it was a treasure to the other water tribe. Although the water tribe had the possibility of cultivating to become a true dragon, not everyone had this opportunity. With the dragon pearl, things would be much easier. Exalted goddess, you really want to give it to me? Thousand Legs was stunned by this huge surprise. You don't want it? Chef said that the pearl was very bright and useful, so he gave her a few. There was still a pile of them. Thousand Legs immediately bowed. Thank you, exalted goddess. Here. Shining stuffed the pearl into his hands. Thousand Legs was very touched. Indeed, the supreme divinity knew all good gods. Exalted goddess, don't worry, your hair will grow back. Shining thought about it and added, hair. Could she not mention hair? Goodbye, brother fish bait. He really wasn't called fish bait. Bai Zhe did not stay any longer. He took Shining and flew away on a cloud. He was extremely fast. In a moment he had already flown across the entire lake and was flying towards the top right corner. Halfway there he suddenly thought of something and said hesitantly, I have a pearl too. Do you want it? Oh, can it glow? No, it can. Then I don't want it. Bai Zhe lowered his head sadly. I mean furball. Are you lost? They did not fly for so long when they just arrived. Bai Zhe stiffened. A hint of panic flashed across his face. After a while he said, No. Oh. Shining did not mind. She continued to look at the bag of aquatic products with satisfaction. Bai Zhe heaved a sigh of relief. With a thought, he sped up and flew upward. In a short while he saw the hall in the clouds. They had come out from the front hall, but now they were at the back of the mountain. He brought Shining directly to a place in the back palace that was covered by auspicious clouds. This was a sea of flowers. Pure white jade-like flowers were blooming all over the place. Each flower seemed to be exquisitely carved, and they even carried a faintly discernible fragrance. The flowers were surrounded by thick god power. It was almost tangible. From afar, it looked like they were blooming on a blue god power. Do you like it? Bai Zhe asked nervously. He looked straight into Xinying's eyes as if this was a very important question. What? Xinying was a little curious why he suddenly stopped flying. She looked at the sea of flowers in front of her and realized that he was asking about flowers. It's all right. Ever since Invincible Sect planted a radish that liked to give people dandelions, she had a strange feeling when she saw all the flowers. So much so that she had the illusion that the ground was full of radishes. And they were the kind that were naked. This is a black spirit flower. His eyes became even brighter, as if his eyes were filled with stars. After I came back, I planted a lot. For you. Oh. What did it have to do with them going home for dinner? Bai Zhe's face was already completely red. He tried his best to resist the urge to turn around. Suddenly, as if he had made up his mind about something, he bent down and picked the prettiest flower and handed it over. Shin. For me? Yes. He nodded vigorously. His eyes became even brighter. He looked at her closely as if afraid of missing something. Even the hand that was holding the flower was trembling. For you. Shining subconsciously reached out. Just as she was about to take it, her hand suddenly stopped less than half a centimeter away from the flower. She tilted her head and asked. Furball. Yes. This flower isn't for you to propose to me, is it? Oh, Q-boom. There was a faint sound of something exploding. 4 hours later. The moon was in the middle of the sky, in the side palace of White Cloud Mountain. A certain someone summoned a sword that was overflowing with cold chi. His whole body exploded with a strong murderous aura. I'm going to kill that little bitch. I Ching turned and rushed out. Chapter 264. Holy shit. Chef, what are you doing? Lonman's eyes and hands were sharp and he pulled him back. Move aside. Let me kill that little bitch who dared to flirt with Master. I Ching's murderous aura seemed to be uncontrollable. He began to attack indiscriminately. If Lone Moon was not prepared, he would have knocked Lone Moon away. What's the rush? At least listen to what I have to say. Lone Moon used a spell to press I Ching back into the chair. He turned to glare at the person in question who was calmly eating her fruit. And then? Did you agree to Bai Zhe? No. Shining shook her head. Lone Moon heaved a sigh of relief. I Ching also relaxed. You rejected him? Not really. What the hell? The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. When did you learn to flirt with such a green TB*TCH's skills? I wanted to say it, but after I said that, he covered his face and ran away, abandoning me. Shining looked innocent. She ran like a rabbit, the red kind. I couldn't even stop him. I walked around for a long time before I found my way back. She didn't even make it for lunch. Lone Moon. So this was the reason why she missed lunch and could only make it for dinner? Because she spent 4 hours to find her way back. Chef, is dinner ready? Shining looked at I Ching. She walked around the back hall for the whole afternoon. She was so hungry. Master. Unexpectedly, Chef did not turn and rush into the kitchen for the first time. Instead, he said seriously, "You must not agree to this. You are pure and do not know the human heart. Divine hearts are sinister. Don't be fooled by Baizé. Although he did help us, you were the one who helped him return to the divine realm. That's repayment." She just wanted to eat. Master, we just arrived in the divine realm. We don't know much about this place. Don't trust people easily. The more I Ching spoke, the more serious he became. What's more, you've only known him for a few days and he's already willing to marry you. It's obvious that he's a frivolous person. But dinner? How long have you known him? It's too rash to decide to marry him so casually. And he's a divine being. Don't you always say that different races cannot fall in love? Dinner? I don't think there are many good people in the god world. The god race isn't reliable at all. Look at Feng San and Long Zhen. Just because of a small misunderstanding, they could suspect each other for tens of thousands of years. It can be seen that they are not sentimental people by nature. Shining, Lone Moon, you even ridiculed yourself. Does your family know? Besides, with Master's high cultivation, how could a mere Baizé of the god race be worthy of you? In any case, I don't agree to this. I won't let anyone get close to you. His face was serious, and he gripped the sword in his hand tightly, as if he was about to rush out and kill someone. Shining paused and turned to look at this righteous man. Her eyes darkened. I Ching? Master. Why don't you like people approaching me? I Ching paused as if he had been asked the right question. A moment later he murmured, "Because you are my master." Oh. She narrowed her eyes. What if I'd taken a few more disciples? Oh. I Ching's expression changed as he blurted out. What? Because. He did not want to, but he could not bring himself to say the last few words. His entire person was stunned. He felt a sense of panic in his heart, as if something that he had deliberately ignored was about to surge out and drown him. Lone Moon, who had been sitting at the side watching the show, shook his head and sighed. He could not help but step forward and pat a certain fool's shoulder. All right, you must be tired after looking for her for the whole day. Go back and rest. Don't worry. Who in this world can trick your master? She knows what she's doing. I Ching stared blankly at Lone Moon, then at Shining. He was chased out with a confused look on his face. He did not seem to have recovered at all. Like a wandering spirit, he walked in the direction of his residence. Lone Moon then glanced sideways at a certain person who was sprawled on the table lazily. What you're doing is a little unkind. Shining glanced at him. Unkind if I don't say? He choked as if thinking of something. His expression changed. All right, that's even more unkind. Then what are you thinking? I can't be bothered to think about that. You are really too lazy. Laziness was out of style. Shining swirled the teacup in her hand and murmured softly, "Who asked the holidays to be ending soon?" What? Nothing, Father Nyo. Do you really not have any hidden food? Daughter, I'm so hungry. Get lost. I don't have a lazy daughter like you. No matter what you decide, I'm not going to interfere in this matter. You can handle it yourself. Lone Moon pursed his lips. After a while he added, but, take it easy. It's been so many years. Lone Moon then set up an isolation array and closed the door. He sat back at the table. Let's talk business. You went out to observe for a day. How was it? Did you find anything? Did you find out? Shining glanced at him lazily. I guess so. What do you mean by I guess so? Only then did he sit up, and with a flick of his hand, he threw a few bulging storage pouches on the table. What's this? Lone Moon picked one up and subconsciously tore it open. A huge fishtail suddenly shot out from the bag and hit him in the face. There was a loud smack in the room. Lone Moon, where's my knife? There are too many small animals inside. Be careful. Shining hurriedly added. What's the F*** point of saying that now? Lone Moon directly threw the storage bag in his hand back at her face. She did it on purpose, she definitely did it. Don't waste it, Father Nyo. Shining caught it and stuffed the fishtail back. It's not spoiled. Can still be eaten. Where did you catch these things? Lone Moon glared at her. And they're all demonic beasts that can only be barbecued. In the lake at the foot of the mountain. At the foot of the mountain. Lone Moon stood up abruptly. His expression changed. You mean, we guessed correctly. Furball is also problematic. Shining nodded. His cultivation seems to be fine. Maybe he didn't even realize it himself. Lone Moon's expression darkened. His brows were almost in a dead knot. After a moment of silence, he could not help but curse. Shit. This is getting more and more troublesome. What should I do? Should I tell them now? I'm so tired. Shining continued to lean on the table. Indeed, using my brain is so troublesome. Father Nyo, did you really not hide anything? I feel like I'm running out of blood. I need some milk. Get lost. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. You've only been out for half a day. Little Shorty should be able to come out from the spirit spring tomorrow. We should still let them know about this. I'll call them over tomorrow. With that said, he removed the isolation array around them. Just as he was about to step out of the room, he stopped. Damn it. He cursed under his breath and turned back to the table. He took out more than 10 bowls of rice, vegetables, pastries and fruits from his storage bag and placed them all over the table. Leftovers from lunch. Eat, eat, eat. Eat until you die. With that said, he turned and left. Shining, Father Nyo's way of doting on his daughter was indeed very special. Chapter 265. After soaking in the spirit spring for 4 whole days, Shorty finally woke up. Lone Moon called out to her and asked her to call Bai Zhe to gather at Xin Ying's side hall. Lone Moon then turned around to look for Chef. Chef looked as if he had not rested well. His little body was listless, as if he had met with some difficult problem. Especially after seeing Shining, he looked as if he wanted to say something but stopped himself. Even his cooking skills were obviously not as good as before. Lone Moon glanced at the breakfast on the table. This was a table of soulless breakfast. He glanced at a certain someone who was calmly eating. His mouth twitched. Damn it, she was eating with relish. Why did she dislike his cooking so much in the past? He looked around and realized that one person was missing. Where's Bai Zhe? Elder, I did not find Supreme Divinity Bai Zhe. Shorty answered. I searched the entire Baiyun Mountain and did not see him. Lone Moon's expression turned cold. He glared at a certain foodie and turned to Yi Qing. Chef, you go. You can do whatever you want, just bring him here. Yi Qing, who was still in a daze, his eyes lit up. He was instantly energized. All right. With that said, he disappeared at the door in a flash. He looked very excited. Shorty. Elder Yi Qing went to look for someone, right? But why did he have to bring a sword and look so murderous? After all, his cultivation was high. Shorty could not find him all over the mountain. Chef brought him back in less than 20 minutes. But both of them were covered in dust and looked very disheveled. Especially Bai Zhe. His originally pure white clothes were stained with large patches and his face was green. Coming. Chef muttered and kept his sword. He took small steps and walked behind Shining out of habit. As if realizing that his vision was blocked, he turned and moved a chair. He climbed onto it and looked over Xin Ying's head. He stared fearfully at Bai Zhe, who entered the room. Little bitch, don't you dare lie to my master. I will keep my eyes on you. Bai Zhe, on the other hand, saw Shining sitting in front of him the moment he entered the house. He seemed to have thought of something. His originally angry expression changed instantly and his face turned red. His entire body was as red as a shrimp. He turned and wanted to fly away. Lone Moon was quick to react. He sealed the door with a spell and set up a few isolation arrays. Hey, that's enough. We have something serious to talk to you about. With that said, he turned to glare at the lazy bum at the table. Shining. Ah. What's with the ah? Settle your problem first. Oh. Shining then stood up and walked towards Bai Zhe. She looked straight into his eyes and said, You ran too fast yesterday. I didn't have time to reply to you. Bai Zhe's heart skipped a beat. His entire face burned. Thank you, but I don't accept it. Bai Zhe stiffened, the flush on his face instantly faded. Then I don't like you. I won't like it in the future either. I never loved. Shining patted his shoulder comfortingly. Then she turned and sat back in her chair. Lone Moon, Xian Tong, this was a heart-wrenching scene? Wasn't it too simple and crude? Xian Tong looked at Lone Moon weakly. Elder, why do I feel that Supreme Divinity is a little pitiful? It's better to get the pain over with. Xining rejected him a long time ago. She's experienced. Then will he be all right? Don't worry, it's just a breakup. He won't die. And it was a crush. But he looks so sad. He's squatting in the corner. He's petrified. It feels like he's going to be blown away. Is he really all right? Cough. Well, let's talk about serious matters. Lone Moon stepped forward and said seriously. Elder was changing the topic, wasn't he? Little Shorty, is your primordial spirit all right? He suddenly asked. Xian Tong nodded. She looked gratefully at the person who was still squatting in the corner. Supreme Divinity Spirit Spring is really amazing. I feel that my primordial spirit is much more condensed than before. Even my cultivation is showing signs of breaking through. I believe we can return to the immortal realm soon. We can't return to the immortal realm for the time being. Lone Moon's expression darkened. Because it's not just you who is having problems with your primordial spirit. Chef is also having problems. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone except Xining was shocked. What? Xian Tong stood up abruptly. Elder I Ching is also injured. How can that be? Isn't he already a divine being? Who can injure? Why are you all looking at me? She stopped mid-sentence. She realized that everyone in the room was staring at her with wide eyes. What's wrong? Little Short, you? Lone Moon pointed below her. Xian Tong looked down and saw a familiar body on the table. It was her body. And she was floating in midair, completely transparent. Ah! How can this be? Xian Tong screamed. Subconsciously she scurried back. In an instant the figure on the table sat up again. Xian Tong's soul had returned. Indeed, there's still a problem with little Shorty's soul. Lone Moon's expression darkened. That's impossible. Even Bai Zhe, who was standing in the corner, was shocked by little Shorty's sudden departure. He turned to look at her. My spirit spring does have the effect of nourishing souls. I've checked her primordial spirit and confirmed that it has been repaired. Why would her soul leave her body for no reason? This has nothing to do with her primordial spirit, Lone Moon said. It's because her soul is missing a piece. You mean, that remnant soul? I Ching suddenly thought of the array that Mother Feng had set up. She is. You and Bai Zhe aren't? What do you mean? Haven't you realized? Lone Moon scanned them from head to toe. That both of your souls are missing something? Bai Zhe, I Ching, Lone Moon's brows furrowed. His expression became even more serious. Xining and I only just realized this. At first, we thought that only little Shorty had a problem. Especially after we saw the remnant soul in the array in the underworld. But when I examined little Shorty, apart from the fact that her primordial spirit was unstable, I didn't find any problems with her soul. At first, I thought that the remnant soul was left behind before little Shorty was reincarnated. The power of reincarnation restored little Shorty's soul, so it was just a remnant soul from her previous life, but if the soul was complete, the remnant soul should have dissipated, Bai Zhe said. That's right. Lone Moon nodded. The strange thing is that the remnant soul has existed for more than a day or two. That proves that it wasn't from before she reincarnated. But little Shorty was completely fine until she was injured by the ghost immortals Yin Qi. Then Xining reminded me that when Chef was in the egg, he also encountered the ghost immortals Yin Qi. That's why I checked on him. Although it wasn't obvious, his primordial spirit was indeed showing signs of disorder. Chapter 266. I Ching paused and instinctively checked his own essence soul. His face paled. I thought it was because of this body of mine, that's why. It's the exact opposite. Lone Moon said in a low voice. It's because your soul is incomplete that your body has always been like this. I Ching frowned. His expression darkened. And then there's Bai Zhe. Me? Bai Zhe paused. When you fought with Qin Yu that day, we were right beside you. Lone Moon pointed to a certain foodie beside him. She saw that there was something wrong with you, so we decided to follow you back to White Cloud Mountain. Qin. Bai Zhe's heart warmed. He instinctively looked at Xining. Suddenly he thought of something and his expression fell again. He exuded an aura of grievance. After a while he said, but, there's nothing wrong with my essence soul. There's nothing wrong with your essence soul, but I'm not sure about the rest. Bai Zhe paused. What did that mean? There are countless demonic beasts in the lake under White Cloud Mountain, right? Lone Moon rolled his eyes at the foodie. Didn't you take Xining to see them yesterday? Those demonic beasts didn't exist before, right? Indeed, they didn't exist before. Do you know where they came from? Bai Zhe paused. I don't know either. They just appeared recently. I remember that back in the three Azure realms, you stayed with the E family for tens of thousands of years. Lone Moon continued, none of the demonic beasts in the Mirage Sea dared to come ashore. Back in the divine realm, your divine power should be even stronger. Why did demonic beasts dare to appear near your residence? And all of them are low-level demonic beasts with no spiritual intelligence? He didn't think about this problem. At that time he just wanted to recuperate first. When Shining came over she would definitely be happy. The only explanation is that there's something wrong with your soul, affecting your powers. It's just that this effect is so small that you didn't notice it at all. Lone Moon poured himself a cup of tea and took a sip before continuing, you're from the divine race. The demonic beasts with spiritual intelligence naturally know how powerful you are and don't dare to come close. And the low-level demonic beasts can only sense danger instinctively. They don't know who you are. The White Spirit Mountain was rich in divine power, making it the best place to cultivate. Now that Bai Zai's soul was in trouble, these demonic beasts without intelligence would not be able to sense the danger and would naturally swarm over. Bai Zai fell silent. It was indeed possible. So Shining went fishing with him yesterday because she was worried? But she said she didn't like him at all. Heartbroken. Elder, you mean to say that all three of us had a strand of our soul extracted, but we didn't notice it? Xian Tong asked worriedly. You are indeed missing a remnant soul, and we have found this remnant soul, but we haven't thought of a way to let it return. But I Ching and Bai Zai were just guessing. Lone Moon frowned. A remnant soul is different from a complete soul. We can't tell if the soul is complete. I have an idea, Bai Zai suddenly said. Everyone was stunned. They all turned to look at him. Bai Zai turned his hand, and a bronze mirror the size of a palm appeared in his hand. This is the life mirror, my lifelong Dharma artifact. Through this mirror, you can see a person's past and present life. But you have to have a complete soul. If you don't have a complete soul, you won't be able to see anything in the mirror. So it could be used to check if they were missing a remnant soul. Lone Moon's eyes lit up. He immediately carried Chef down from the stool. Then let's take a look. I Ching was not paying attention and was squeezed in front of the mirror. He and Bai Zai glared at each other at close range, then looked at the mirror. Bai Zai immediately activated the life mirror in his hand. A white light flashed across the surface of the mirror, but it was completely white inside. Only Father Nyo's reflection could be seen. His hand was still empty. In an instant, the three of them's expressions darkened. Indeed, they guessed correctly. Bai Zai and Chef's souls were in trouble. The three of us have interacted with the ghost immortal. It must be done by the same person. Xian Tong looked worried. But why did he want to extract our remnant souls? Remnant souls were not like complete souls and spirits. If they were missing, it would not have much effect on the body. Over time they would recover on their own. It might not be the three of you. Shining, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke. There are others who have interacted with the ghost immortal. Everyone was stunned. I Ching, who was still in Lone Moon's hand, was the first to react. His eyes widened. Those two drama queens. His expression darkened. A look of panic flashed across his face. He hurriedly looked at the person in front of the table. Master. Let's go. Shining patted her butt and stood up. I'm full. Breakfast. The three of them exchanged glances, then turned and began to fly on their swords. Bai Zai and Xian Tong could only follow, confused. Elder Lone Moon, who are the drama queens? Xian Tong could not help but ask. Chef's cheap parents. Elder I Ching's ancestor's surname was Drama? Didn't Divine Race have family surnames? She had never heard of Drama. What Shining said was not impossible. If Little Shorty and the others had lost a sliver of their remnant souls because they had interacted with the ghost immortal, then Feng San, who had made friends with the ghost immortal, could have interacted with them before. He was familiar with Zhu Ming and had been to the underworld more than once. There was also Long Zhen. Although she had never met a ghost immortal, she had guarded the dragon egg for so many years. She did not even sense the yin qi in the egg. If the ghost immortal had really taken her remnant soul, she should not have known. Reality proved that they were not thinking too much. Feng San and Long Zhen did not appear in Bai Zai's life mirror at all. How can this be? Long Zhen was confused. With her and Feng San's cultivation levels, how could anyone take away their souls without them knowing? Even if it was just a remnant soul. From what I know, ghost immortals are all very strong. Ordinary divine race members are not their match. But given Little Zhen's and my cultivation levels, we can fight them to a draw. Feng San said in a low voice, But there is no ghost immortal who is much stronger than us and can take away a sliver of our remnant souls. Why did we? He looked confused. If I Ching, the son who ran away with his master, had not suddenly returned to tell them this, they would not even have known that they had lost a sliver of their remnant souls. Can you guess who did it? Lone Moon asked anxiously. The two exchanged a look and shook their heads. Their expressions darkened. We don't know. What's more, why would the other party want a sliver of our remnant souls? Do you have a way to find your remnant souls? Lone Moon asked. After all, they were divine race members. The two shook their heads. A remnant soul is different from the 3 spiritual and 7 physical souls. We did not even notice that a sliver of our remnant soul was missing. How can we find its location? But we can ask someone what the other party wants a remnant soul for, Feng San suddenly said. Everyone was stunned. Bai Zhe suddenly thought of something. You mean Hongyu? That's right. Feng San nodded. Supreme Divinity Hongyu is the oldest god in the divine realm. If there's anyone who knows the most about souls, it's probably him. Long Zhen reacted as well. Then let's go to Lingtai Mountain immediately. As she spoke, she was about to turn when the air in the hall suddenly twisted. It was as if someone had torn space apart. A black figure suddenly appeared in the hall. Chapter 267. Brother Feng, I have an urgent matter that I need your help with. The person who broke through the void was Zhu Ming. He looked at Feng San anxiously. Brother Zhu? You're... Feng San hesitated. He did not expect Zhu Ming to appear so suddenly and in such a manner. Although breaking through the void could allow one to travel thousands of miles in an instant, it took a lot of energy to do so. Unless it was a matter of life and death, ghost immortals would not use it easily. Zhu Ming, on the other hand, looked anxious. Brother Feng, may I ask where the 3 people who entered the underworld the last time are now? He stopped mid-sentence. Then he saw Shining and the others standing at the side. His eyes brightened and he immediately turned and cupped his fists. That's great. Everyone is here. Mother Feng. Something happened to Mother Feng. What happened to her? Lone Moon stepped forward and asked, shocked. I don't know what happened either. Her soul suddenly became very unstable. Zhu Ming's expression was one of panic. He scanned the area before his gaze landed on Shining. Exalted Goddess, please save Mother Feng. He had already noticed that this exalted goddess Shen's cultivation level was not as low as it seemed on the surface. If anyone could save Mother Feng, it would be them. He had no other choice, which was why he had come here. Shining and Lone Moon exchanged a look. They decided to go and take a look. After all, the fact that they were missing a remnant soul probably had something to do with Mother Feng. Let's go and take a look at Mother Feng first, Lone Moon instructed Feng San and Long Zhen. I'll have to trouble you 2 divine supremacies to go to the Lingtai Mountain and ask about the remnant soul first. The 2 of them looked at them worriedly. But you? Feng San looked confused. He did not understand why Zhu Ming did not come here to ask for his help, but to look for his son's seemingly weak master. He wanted to stop them, but Long Zhen glared at him. He swallowed his words. Thank you, everyone. Seeing that they had agreed, Zhu Ming hurriedly thanked them. Then he anxiously led them across the void. The few of them felt their vision darken. The next moment they found themselves in the underworld. Ghostly chi filled the air and wandering souls were everywhere. In front of them was an unfamiliar palace surrounded by thick yin chi. It was obvious that this was Zhu Ming's residence. However, half of the originally tall hall had collapsed. From time to time, sharp and ear-piercing screams could be heard, and the red light of the array formation could be faintly seen inside. Mother Feng is inside, Zhu Ming said anxiously as he led everyone in. Only then did they see that the inside of the hall had been destroyed even more severely. There were broken walls everywhere, and only a restrictive array formation was lit up at the very center. The person in the formation was Mother Feng. She had reverted to her crazy self and was attacking the formation that trapped her. Her eyes were bloodshot and her face was contorted in pain. More importantly, there were 9 Mother Fengs in the formation, and from time to time, they would let out cries of resentment, hatred, and anger. The force of their attacks on the formation was getting stronger and stronger, and the formation was on the verge of collapsing. Mother Feng, Zhu Ming exclaimed. He immediately went forward and conjured a seal to stabilize the array. Her soul was split. Lone Moon was shocked. He turned to look at Zhu Ming. What happened? Logically speaking, souls should be connected to each other. As long as they weren't in the soul-splitting formation, they should be able to gather together. Why did Mother Feng seem to be getting more and more scattered? I don't know either. She suddenly became like this. No matter what I did, her soul could not gather together. I could only trap her here, Zhu Ming explained as he set up the array. He looked at Shening pleadingly. I had no choice but to trouble all of you. Last time, all of you were able to destroy the soul-splitting formation. Can you tell what happened to Mother Feng this time? Lone Moon frowned. We can't tell what happened to her either. Mother Feng was different from Chef and the others. What she lacked was a primary soul, not a remnant soul. Zhu Ming looked disappointed. He became even more anxious. Inside the array, Mother Feng's attacks were getting weaker and weaker. Perhaps she was tired, or perhaps her scattered soul could no longer withstand the torment. But the shrill cries were getting louder and louder. They seemed to be filled with hatred and indignation. Every word reverberated in the eerie underworld. I hate you. Why did you do this to me? Why? Heaven fall Yellow Springs to be together forever. Ah, liars, all liars. I won't die. I won't die. Even if I become a ghost forever and never reincarnate, I will drag you down to hell with me. The great Tao is heartless. Cutting off one's emotions to gain enlightenment is all a lie. Give me back my life. Give it back to me. The cries were getting louder and louder. Suddenly, black qi appeared around Mother Feng's translucent soul. It did not look like the yin qi of a ghost immortal, nor did it look like demonic qi. It was filled with anger, as if it wanted to destroy everything in its path. Grievous energy. Zhu Ming's eyes widened in disbelief. How is this possible? Although those who were able to cultivate to the level of ghost immortal had died with great resentment, this was the underworld. The Yin River of the underworld would take away all the resentment of ghosts, preventing them from falling into madness. Therefore, ghost immortals would not easily leave the underworld. But Mother Feng's soul had already split. Why would she still have so much grievous energy? Zhu Ming's eyes widened. Suddenly he thought of something. His face turned even paler. Could it be that she still can't let it go? There's one less soul inside, Xian Tong suddenly exclaimed. Everyone was shocked. They turned around to take a closer look. Indeed, only 8 of the original 9 Mother Feng were left. The grievous energy around the soul was getting stronger and stronger. In a short while, all 5 of them were covered in a thick, black, grievous energy. It was gathering towards the center, as if some invisible force was pulling it apart. Grievous energy gathering souls, Bai Zhe said in shock. The grievous energy was gathering her scattered souls. No, Mother Feng will be swallowed by the grievous energy. Zhu Ming looked even more worried. He conjured a few hand seals, but there was no reaction. On the other side, Mother Feng's scattered souls had completely gathered together. The raging cries had also stopped. Mother Feng was dressed in a long black robe. Her hair was messy as she stood in the middle of the array. 2 streaks of bloody tears flowed down her cheeks. She suddenly quietened down. Her madness was gone. They did not know if it was an illusion, but the red light in her eyes seemed to have grown brighter. His eyes were fixed on this side. Suddenly he grinned and revealed a sinister smile. Mother Feng. Zhu Ming subconsciously took a step forward. The smile on Mother Feng's face widened until the corners of her mouth reached her ears. Her eyes bulged so much that they looked like they were about to pop out of her eye sockets. A creepy laugh suddenly sounded. You're an accomplice too. All of you deserve to die. Give me back my life, will you? Little junior brother? You, remember? Zhu Ming's eyes widened. He froze. Mother Feng waved her sleeves. The grievous energy filled the air, accompanied by shrill cries, rushed towards Zhu Ming. Even the yin qi around them was pushed back. It looked like it was about to swallow Zhu Ming whole. Zhu Ming! Lone Moon exclaimed. He sent a beam of sword qi at Zhu Ming, pushing him away. That was how he managed to avoid the grievous energy. The ground rumbled. The palace that was already in ruins was now a pile of rubble. Chapter 268. Zhu Ming crawled up from the ground in a daze. Suddenly he thought of something and looked at the array anxiously. Mother Feng. The figure in the array had disappeared. Even the grievous energy had disappeared into the array. He stood in the array panicking. What happened? Why did Mother Feng suddenly disappear? Where did she go? I Ching frowned and stepped forward to check the array on the ground. This array is not broken. I don't think she broke out of it. Then where did she go? Zhu Ming was getting more anxious. He conjured a few seals to search for her aura. After a while, he put his hands down in disappointment. I can't find her aura. Also, there are no signs of other arrays being activated. Could it be that she broke through the void? Bai Zhe asked. No. I Ching shook his head. There were no signs of any sorcery just now. Everyone's expressions were solemn. The array was not broken and there were no signs of other arrays. How did she disappear? Zhu Ming's expression was one of despair. It was as if all his energy had been sucked out of him. He fell to the ground. Where did she go? Souls can attract each other, right? Shining suddenly asked. Everyone paused and then reacted. Soul summoning technique. Mother Feng lost her primary soul? Zhu Ming said anxiously. You're saying that someone used her primary soul to summon the other souls away? But he changed his mind and his face darkened. I clearly trapped her with an array just now. What kind of soul summoning array in this world can use just one main soul to summon all the other souls? There is. Shining nodded. Haven't you guys seen it before? Zhu Ming paused. A moment later he seemed to have thought of something. His eyes widened and he exclaimed in unison, that mystic realm array. Back then, that array was able to pull Shorty from the immortal realm all the way to the divine realm with just a sliver of her remnant soul. She's in her own residence. Zhu Ming regained his senses and turned to fly to the right. Lone Moon and the others exchanged a look and flew up on their swords. Moss. I Ching turned to pull Shining onto the sword out of habit. Halfway through, he seemed to have thought of something. His body stiffened, and the look in his eyes became even more complicated. Shining, however, did not seem to notice at all. She stood behind Chef and said, "Let's go." Yes, Moss. He did not know why he did not want to say the last word. He looked at Shining, confused. Seeing that she did not notice, he chased after her. Bai Zhe, on the other hand, glanced at the two of them and frowned. His face was filled with grievance. Zhu Ming seemed to be very anxious. He flew very quickly. Lone Moon frowned and glanced at Zhu Ming, who seemed to be in a state of panic. Zhu Ming had completely lost his composure. In a low voice, Lone Moon said, "Fellow Taoist Zhu, don't you think you should explain to us your relationship with Mother Feng?" Previously he had mentioned that Mother Feng was his junior sister, and it didn't seem like they were close. But now it didn't seem like that was the case. Zhu Ming's face paled. He looked at Lone Moon guiltily. A moment later he closed his eyes and sighed. It's not that I'm hiding this from you on purpose. It's just that Mother Feng is too stubborn. I'm afraid that something bad will happen to her again. That's why I purposely did not mention the past. She is indeed not my junior sister. She is my senior sister. Zhu Ming's expression became even more complicated. When she was alive we were from the same sect. We grew up together. Later she ascended to immortality before I did. By the time I ascended she had already been killed by evil people. I became a ghost immortal because of her. But ghost immortals cultivate at the expense of their souls. The higher their cultivation level, the weaker their souls. Although Mother Feng managed to get her revenge after she became a ghost immortal, the hatred in her heart only deepened. Her cultivation became more and more extreme. I was worried that if this went on, her soul would dissipate one day. I wanted to persuade her to forget the past and reincarnate with me, but she refused. Zhu Ming clenched his fists by his side. His expression became even more sorrowful. After that, she lost her primary soul in an accident and forgot everything. I hoped that I could coax her to reincarnate first and then slowly find her primary soul. That was better than having her soul destroyed. But I did not expect her hatred to be so strong. Even without her primary soul, she still remembers what happened in the past. Fellow Taoist Lone Moon. Zhu Ming said seriously, I'm really sorry. I was afraid that if I brought up the past in front of Mother Feng, I might agitate her. That's why I did not tell her about what happened between us. Her soul is extremely weak now. It could dissipate at any time. If we don't send her to reincarnation soon, I'm afraid she won't have the chance to reincarnate again. Lone Moon looked at him, unsure of what he meant. He did not continue asking. Zhu Ming flew even faster. Mother Feng's residence was not far. In less than 10 minutes they arrived. At that moment there was a red light in front of them. Large numbers of wandering souls were fleeing in panic. Several arrays lit up where the palace used to be. They could vaguely make out the entrance to the mystic realm. Mother Feng! Zhu Ming exclaimed. He rushed toward the entrance of the mystic realm. Zhu! Lone Moon wanted to stop him, but it was too late. He could only turn around and give the others a look, reminding them to set up a defensive array. Then he followed Zhu Ming in. In an instant, a red light filled their vision. It was still the small mystic realm that was full of arrays. But now there was Yinchi everywhere. The array that Shining had destroyed had been repaired, and many changes had been made to it. Mother Feng was trapped in the middle of the array. She looked like she was in agony. Her body became fainter and fainter, as if she was about to disappear. A man was floating above the array. His entire body was wrapped in black yin qi. His face could not be seen clearly. All they could make out was the man's figure. "Sect Master, it's the ghost immortal who was chasing me," Xian Tong exclaimed. Everyone's expressions darkened. This man had finally appeared. The array below can devour souls. Everyone be careful not to get too close. Lone Moon shouted a warning, but it was too late. Zhu Ming, who had entered first, had already rushed down without a care in the world. Mother Feng. Before he could land, several blinding beams of red light shot up and hit him. Zhu Ming's body swayed and a double image appeared on his body. It looked like his soul was being split apart. "Chef." Lone Moon immediately turned to warn I Ching. The next moment, I Ching conjured a ray of God power, which wrapped around Zhu Ming and pulled him back. Bai Zhe stepped forward and conjured a spell to stabilize Zhu Ming's disintegrating soul. Zhu Ming did not care about his own injuries. He turned to look at the person controlling the array above Mother Feng. "Stop. Who are you? What did you do to Mother Feng?" The black figure did not reply. Instead, he activated the array even more. The red light around them grew brighter, carrying with it a frightening aura. Even the people outside the array felt their divine souls waver. They retreated several feet. Everyone's heart jumped. What kind of array was this? Even divine beings could not get close to it. Lone Moon's heart clenched. He thought about how the remnant souls of Chef and the others could be in this person's hands. He turned to the person beside him. "Shening Yu," he was just about to ask her to attack when Shening seemed to realize something. She turned to Bai Zhe and asked, "Furball, what's the use of the soul-suppressing pearl?" Bai Zhe paused, then answered, "Of course it's to stabilize divine souls." "Is it that?" She suddenly pointed below. Everyone lowered their heads to take a look. Sure enough, a pearl was faintly discernible around the black shadow's body. They did not notice it earlier because the yin qi was too thick. Now that they looked closer, they saw that the pearl was emitting faint God power. It was the soul-suppressing pearl. Someone who could use God power to stabilize souls was definitely not a ghost immortal. Could this person be Qian Yu? For the few of them shouted in unison. Chapter 269. The black figure paused, and even the red light around it seemed to slow down. In the next moment, the black qi around the figure disappeared, slowly turning into light blue God power. A face that looked exactly like Father Nyo's appeared. "I thought that you would only realize it after a while," Qian Yu said coldly. Qian Yu said coldly. She raised her head and looked over as if she did not want to hide anything anymore. "That's fine too. Let's all become sacrifices for this array." With that, he suddenly waved his hand at everyone. Immediately, the exit of the mystic realm behind them closed, and an array that looked exactly like the one below appeared in the sky. Before they could react, they felt their bodies become heavy. Their internal auras became unstable and they could not even fly on their swords. They fell from the sky. The red light of the array became even brighter, turning the surroundings blood red. Everyone felt their primordial spirits become unstable, as if they were about to break out of their bodies. Bai Zhe forced himself to set up an array and pulled everyone inside. Only then did the feeling of their souls being cut up stop. You've been hiding your cultivation all this time." Bai Zhe looked at Qian Yu in shock as he supported the array. He had fought with Qian Yu more than 100 times. He knew his cultivation best. Qian Yu still looked serious and upright. "It's not that I've been hiding my cultivation, it's just that I'm not the same as before. It's all thanks to your remnant soul." "So it was you who took away everyone's remnant soul?" Xian Tong exclaimed. Qian Yu's expression darkened. He took a deep breath and said, "It's said that the Bai Zhe family is the only divine race that has existed since the beginning of the world. They were born in the chaos and were the divine beasts that the three gods of creation used to chase away ghosts. Souls are different from other people's. If I want to activate this array, I need your remnant soul." "You need my remnant soul to increase your cultivation? Only when I'm strong enough can I do what I want. But now, it's not enough." He frowned as if he had made up his mind about something. Suddenly, he waved his hand in the direction of the crowd. Lone Moon felt a strong suction force, and his body flew out uncontrollably. The next moment he was in Qian Yu's hand. "Father Nyo." "Lone Moon." Everyone was shocked, but Qian Yu had already struck Lone Moon's chest with her palm. She used all of her strength in an attempt to pull Lone Moon's soul out of his body. With a flash of red light, he suddenly withdrew his hand. However, nothing happened. Not even half a shadow of Lone Moon's body floated out, not to mention his soul. The two of them maintained the posture of one grabbing and the other being grabbed, staring at each other. Lone Moon, Qianyu, everyone, the scene was a little awkward. How is this possible? Qianyu's face was filled with disbelief. The red light reappeared in her hand and she tried again. Other than messing up the other party's clothes a little, there was no other reaction. Even Lone Moon looked at his chest in confusion. It seems like your soul system is incompatible with ours. Suddenly, a clear female voice rang in his ears. Qianyu was shocked. He turned his head abruptly, only to realize that a woman had appeared beside him out of nowhere. She looked somewhat familiar and she was looking at him with narrowed eyes. It was clearly a very casual glance, but he felt as if a huge pressure was pressing down on him. Who are you? His heart sank. He did not have time to think about when she came over. The other party suddenly smiled, pointed at the person in his hand and said, "This is my father Nyo." With that said, she turned her hand and grabbed him by the collar. The next moment he felt the world spin around him and everything went black. With a loud bang, Qianyu's entire body was thrown into the air, and then he landed heavily on the ground. Then one sound after another could be heard. The array on the ground began to crack. In a short while, the array of the entire mystic realm had completely collapsed, and the red light was extinguished. Lone Moon stood up with a lingering fear in his heart. He glared at the person next to him who was playing whack-a-mole, and the fire in his heart began to burn. Damn it, next time you want to save someone, can you be faster? My soul was almost sucked out. It can't be. Shining stopped. So many people had lost a remnant soul, except for Father Nyo and herself. This proved that Qianyu could not suck out their souls at all. Lone Moon paused. You mean you knew from the start that he could not suck out my soul but you did not tell me? Was it that obvious? Don't mind such small details. Small details my ass. Mother **Ker, Supreme Divinity by Zhe. Xian Tong suddenly exclaimed. Sect Master. The two of them turned to look, only to see Bai Zhe suddenly wobble as if he could not stand properly. He squatted down, his face drained of all color. Furball? What's going on? Lone Moon hurried back and checked his meridians. His eyes widened. Why is his primordial spirit injured? He was fine just now. Mother Feng. Zhu Ming exclaimed as well. Although the array had been destroyed, Mother Feng's soul did not stop dissipating. Instead, it became even more transparent as if it would shatter at the slightest touch. Zhu Ming panicked. Ha ha ha. Qianyu, whose god power had been destroyed by Shening, suddenly laughed maniacally. Their remnant souls are under my control. If I die they won't survive either. Everyone's expressions darkened. Bai Zhe, on the other hand, turned to look at Shening, who was still stepping on Qianyu. His eyes brightened, and he suppressed the agitation of his primordial spirit. I'm fine. Shin, are you worried about me? I actually can. Actually, you can shut up. Before he could finish, I Ching squeezed in between them, his expression dark. He interrupted, My master does not have god power. If you don't want to die, hurry up and recover. It's just a remnant soul. I'm fine. Shin, I'm the only divine being here. No one else can help you. I don't need your help. Hey, Supreme Divinity, don't stand on ceremony. Bai Zhe, annoying. I Ching, little b****. Crackle crackle crackle. The air crackled with electricity. Lone Moon, Shening, Xian Tong, they could still quarrel. Looks like he's really fine. Undersir, Mother Feng. Mother Feng was in a terrible state. Bai Zhe was just a remnant soul, while Mother Feng was the primary soul. Shening looked back and forth between the two of them. She did not want to continue fighting. Qianyu, Mother Feng has no grudge against you. Why are you doing this? Zhu Ming asked angrily. Qianyu snorted. Ghost immortals should not exist in this world. I'm doing this for the entire divine realm. You. Zhu Ming was livid. He clearly did not believe Xin Ying's explanation. He summoned his weapon and was about to snatch the primary soul back. Mother Feng, who was in a frenzy in his arms, suddenly rushed out. Her almost transparent body was suddenly filled with grievous energy. The blackness was so thick that it looked like ink was about to drip out of it. Tears of blood flowed out of her eyes as she rushed towards Qianyu. Bian Xinchen, return my life. Chapter 270. Mother Feng was extremely fast. Her grievous energy seemed to be able to devour everything. Xining subconsciously took a few steps back. Qianyu was sent flying by her. The grievous energy around him seemed to be able to corrode everything. His Dharma robes melted and even his flesh started to corrode. His bones could be seen. Suddenly, a golden light flashed across his body and Mother Feng was sent flying. The image of a golden lotus appeared around him, enveloping him completely. The grievous energy around him dissipated as well. He took a deep breath and looked at Mother Feng in horror. You are. Zhu Ming seemed to have thought of something. He looked at Qianyu in disbelief. Qianyu snorted. His face, which looked exactly like Father Niu's, began to change. His disguise slowly faded. In a few moments he had become a completely different person. It really is you. Zhu Ming's eyes widened. He was shocked. How is this possible? Mother Feng, who had been sent flying, continued to charge forward. Bian Xinchen, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. She had completely lost her mind. Every time she was sent flying by the golden light, she would charge forward again and again. Every time she charged forward, her soul body would grow fainter and the grievous energy around her would grow thicker. She was about to be swallowed up by the grievous energy. Zhu Ming once again used his sorcery to stop her from killing herself. He looked up angrily at the person in front of him. Bian Xinchen, you're still alive. No wonder Mother Feng refused to reincarnate all these years. Her enemy was not dead at all. And he had become Supreme Divinity Qianyu. Of course I won't die before I complete my great Tao. He looked at Xining fearfully and took another step back. Mother Feng is the biggest obstacle in my great Tao. Obstacle. Zhu Ming clenched his fists, his expression furious. Bian Xinchen, do you still have a heart? She is your wife. She treated you wholeheartedly. She has never let you down. But what did you do to her? In order to complete your great Tao, you destroyed her cultivation, took out her immortal bones and made her die of grievous hatred. You've already caused her so much harm. What more do you want? Bian Xinchen did not look the least bit guilty. He remained calm. To complete my great Tao, I have to make sacrifices. You, Zhu Ming? Bian Xinchen's expression darkened. He scoffed and said, don't you forget that you were the one who told me that only the heartless Tao could help me become a god. Zhu Ming's body shook and his face turned pale. Many emotions flashed across his eyes. I did not think that you would really do that. I just for Mother Feng? Bian Xinchen interrupted him, his eyes full of sarcasm. You've liked her since you were young. When you gave me the Heartless Tao technique, I already knew your motive. It was to make Mother Feng give up on me. Now that both of you are ghost immortals, it can be said that I have fulfilled your wish of so many years. Shut up. Zhu Ming roared. His expression was one of regret and anger. He pointed the sword in his hand at the person in front of him. I did have selfish motives back then, but I never thought that you would really... He could not continue. His entire body trembled as he gritted his teeth and said, kill your wife to prove your Tao. As soon as he said this, everyone present took a deep breath. Shit. Another scumbag. So he was the one who killed Mother Feng in her previous life. They were husband and wife. It was no wonder that Mother Feng was so angry even after losing her primary soul. Bian Xinchen's expression did not change in the slightest. Cutting off all emotions is the key to achieving the Tao. Only by killing my wife can I become a god. I have never regretted killing her. Bian Xincchen. Zhu Ming was getting angrier. Don't forget you had a part in Mother Feng's death. Zhu Ming's body stiffened. His face turned even paler, but he continued to glare at the person in front of him. I did let Mother Feng down. That's why I became a ghost immortal. I wanted to take revenge on you. With that said, he summoned his weapon and charged at Bian Xinchen. Return Mother Feng's primary soul. Bian Xinchen did not seem to care about him at all. He did not even try to dodge. Before Zhu Ming could get close to Bian Xinchen, he was repelled by the golden lotus around him. His soul was also on the verge of collapsing. Lone Moon glanced at Zhu Ming, who was lying on the ground. He did not like the two of them at all. Although he knew that Zhu Ming was hiding something, he did not expect it to be something like this. In his previous life, Zhu Ming tempted others to cultivate the Heartless Tao in order to get the woman he loved. In the end, Bian Xinchen killed his wife to prove his Tao. Each was worse than the last. Poor Mother Feng. She was killed by her husband when she was alive. After she became a ghost immortal, she lost her primary soul. Bian Xinchen's success in becoming a supreme divinity probably had something to do with Mother Feng's primary soul. Lone Moon just did not understand why Bian Xinchen would disguise himself as him. Was it a coincidence? Lone Moon looked at the person in the sky. No matter what, he had to get Bai Zai's remnant souls back first. Shining. Shining nodded. In a flash, she appeared behind Bian Xinchen. She reached out to grab him. Bian Xinchen was shocked. This time he reacted quickly. He retreated more than 10 meters. His eyes darkened. Suddenly he gathered his last bit of god power and turned to strike. Shining had no intention of dodging. The god power brushed past her waist and flew towards the direction behind her, where Mother Feng was. Mother Feng! Zhu Ming exclaimed. He rushed over but he was too late. The god power hit Mother Feng directly, and the array trapping her instantly dimmed. Before anyone could react, Mother Feng rushed out once again. Her body was brimming with resentment as she rushed towards Bian Xinchen. Using all her strength she shouted, Bian Xinchen. Mother Feng, don't! Zhu Ming cried out. But it was too late. Mother Feng was already engulfed by the grievous energy. Her thin, cicada-like soul body collapsed with a ding. It turned into spots of light and disappeared into the black grievous energy. Mother Feng. Zhu Ming fell to the ground as if he had lost consciousness. His face was filled with despair. The next moment, Bian Xinchen's god power surged. His cultivation level increased exponentially. His entire body was enveloped in blue god power. Even the god power that Shen Ying had destroyed earlier started to gather again. His face was filled with excitement. Indeed, she's the only obstacle in my way of achieving the great Tao. Only when she disappears can I cultivate the heartless Tao and become the only true god in the divine realm. Ha! His expression became more and more excited, and the divine power around him became thicker and thicker. The pressure that filled the sky came crashing down on everyone, and everyone felt their blood boiling. Shorty, who had the lowest cultivation level, fell to one knee and spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 271. Shorty. Lone Moon wanted to help him up, but he felt his chest tighten as well. His meridians felt like they were about to break. Bian Xinchen, you caused Mother Feng's soul to dissipate. I want you to pay with your life. Zhu Ming's eyes were bloodshot. He suddenly rushed towards Bian Xinchen and hugged him. He activated all the yin qi in his body and wrapped it around Bian Xinchen. He's going to self-destruct. Wait. Lone Moon was shocked. He wanted to stop him but it was too late. The next moment there was a loud bang and the entire mystic realm shook. A huge impact came. If I Ching had not set up a defensive array in time, the few of them would have been sucked in. The scene was already a cloud of dust. Fool. However, even the self-destruction did not harm Bian Xinchen in the slightest. He only gently brushed off the dust on his body and coldly glanced at the others on the ground, as if he was looking at a group of ants. I have already become a true god. There is no one in the three realms who can stop me. Is that so? Suddenly, a cold voice rang out beside their ears. The next moment there was a loud bang. Bian Xinchen, who was wrapped in god power and floating in midair, was kicked down by Shen Ying. He hit the ground with a loud bang. The suppressive force on everyone disappeared. That's impossible. Bian Xinchen crawled to his feet. His eyes widened as he looked at the person above him in disbelief. That's impossible. I'm already a true god. Unless you're one of the three ancient gods of creation, how can you get close to me? Who are you? Ancient gods of creation? Shen Ying's eyes narrowed. She thought for a moment before replying, why don't I try beating them up next time? Then we'll see what's the difference. Bian Xinchen's eyes widened. He tried to activate all his cultivation to fight back, but he realized that his god power could not be activated at all. In fact, it looked like it was about to collapse. What's going on? What did you do? Shen Ying, who was about to kick him, paused. She didn't do anything. My god power. Bian Xinchen's expression became even more panicked. The god power around him started to dissipate like a hole in his body. His cultivation, which had just been rising, started to drop. No matter how he tried to stop it, it did not work. That's impossible. I've already cultivated the heartless Tao. Mother Feng's soul was destroyed. How did this happen? Suddenly he seemed to recall something. His face filled with hatred. It's Zhu Ming. Zhu Ming. You lied to me. This heartless Tao can't cultivate to become a true god. There's nothing wrong with the heartless Tao. The one with the problem is you. Bian Xinchen paused. What do you mean? Who gave you the idea that killing your wife can prove your Tao? Cutting off affection and love is the way to be heartless. I did not do anything wrong. Shining could not help but kick him. Your brain is on your head. Being heartless is also your way of thinking. Is there something wrong with your understanding, or is there something wrong with your IQ? Do you think that killing the person you like will break your love? You're the one who's moved, and you're also the one who's in love. If you want to be heartless, why don't you castrate yourself first? It's none of your wife's business. In the end, it's just an excuse that you can't bear to do it to yourself. No, killing his wife to prove his Tao? Are you a professional hater of the main street? Forget it, the great Tao has never lacked girls, it doesn't need your wife's life. I'm not wrong. The next time you cultivate, read more books, she suggested seriously. Otherwise, you'll become a scum who won't even let his wife go. Shut up. Bian Xinshan retorted loudly, but his face was getting paler and paler. There was no way he could stop his god power from flowing out of his body. His cultivation level was dropping too, to the point where it could not even compare to a small god's. My cultivation level, no. Chef, come here. Shining could not be bothered with him. She gestured to the people over there, pointing at the man who was desperately trying to hold on to something on the ground. Summon a soul. I don't know how. Summon a soul? I Ching paused but still conjured a spell and sent it over. Bian Xinshan could not resist I Ching's spell at all. Instantly, a virtual image of a woman floated out of his body, floating in front of everyone. Mother Feng. The few of them exclaimed. This was Mother Feng's primary soul. They did not expect her to be in his body. Perhaps because the rest of her soul had already dissipated, Mother Feng's primary soul had already fallen into a deep sleep. Her eyes were closed and she looked very peaceful. She did not look like she was before, her face full of blood and tears. Lone Moon quickly conjured a spell and kept Mother Feng's primary soul. Although there was only a sliver of her primary soul left, as long as she was placed in the river of forgetfulness, the power of samsara would be able to repair her soul one day. As for Bian Xinshan, the moment Mother Feng's primary soul left his body, his cultivation level dropped even further. All the blue god power in his body disappeared. In an instant, his cultivation level was even lower than Xian Tong's. Everyone frowned. Suddenly, they understood why he wanted Mother Feng's primary soul. Just as Shen Ying had said, he killed his wife to prove his Tao. He did not cultivate the heartless Tao. Perhaps he even helped Mother Feng. The moment Mother Feng died, she no longer had any feelings for him. That was why she could cultivate to become a ghost immortal in the underworld. Perhaps Bian Xinshan's cultivation level increased greatly the moment he killed Mother Feng. But as time passed, he must have discovered something wrong. That was why he tried his best to seal Mother Feng's primary soul in his body. His cultivation level came from Mother Feng. That's strange. Where are the remnant souls of the others? Lone Moon asked anxiously. He conjured a few soul-summoning spells, but there was no sign of the other remnant souls. There was only Mother Feng's primary soul in Bian Xinshan's body. Ha. Bian Xinshan suddenly laughed maniacally. His eyes were filled with hatred as he looked at them. Do you think I set up this mystic realm just to kill Mother Feng? What do you mean? Lone Moon's heart sank. So what if you got Mother Feng's primary soul? Soon, all of you will be like her, never to be reincarnated. He laughed even more maniacally. If I can't become a true god, all of you will die with me. What did you say? Everyone was shocked. Bian Xinshan conjured a spell. The next moment, his body and his soul began to crack like glass. He disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. This is a sacrifice, Bai Zhe exclaimed. Before anyone could react, the ground suddenly shook, and the entire mystic realm began to collapse. Faint rumbling sounds, each louder than the last, could be heard, and bursts of red light shone from above. What's wrong? It's outside. Lone Moon looked up and shouted, this mystic realm is going to collapse. Let's get out. The few of them mounted their swords and rushed out. The moment they exited the mystic realm, they found themselves in a sky full of red light. The red light from the array was everywhere. It was like pillars of light shooting up into the dark sky. It was as if the sky was being torn apart. Chapter 272. Bian Xinshan used his soul as a sacrifice just now. He must have activated some array. Bai Zhe shouted, gesturing for everyone to rush out of the red light. The group did not hesitate. They flew away from the red light on their swords. Looking back, they saw that the red light was spreading endlessly in all directions. It was like a spider's web covering the entire ground. Streaks of red light shot up into the sky, dyeing the entire divine underworld red. The shaking of the ground became more and more obvious. Shrill cries of ghosts could be heard all around them. The sound was so sharp that it almost pierced through their eardrums. The wandering souls that had been wandering around seemed to be in great pain. They began to flee in all directions. There are many auras over there. I Ching suddenly pointed to the right. Right where the two realms meet. The group exchanged a look. Let's go. They turned and flew in the direction of the divine underworld. A journey that should have taken an hour took them less than 10 minutes to reach the place where the two realms met. It was not that they had increased their speed, but the divine underworld seemed to have shrunk. There was a white light in front of them. A translucent wall of light blocked the divine underworld, sealing it off completely. There were countless arrays on it that they could not understand. It was connected to the red light that was everywhere in the divine underworld. There seemed to be some kind of force pulling it towards the divine underworld. The wall of light was slowly moving towards the divine underworld. With every inch it moved, the darkness in the divine underworld disappeared a little. The divine world also expanded a little. It looked like the divine underworld was being swallowed up. They did not know what the wall of light was. Every time the wandering souls from the divine underworld touched it, their soul bodies would begin to crumble and they would scream in agony. What was even more shocking was that behind the wall of light, there were countless divine beings from different races. They were all making hand seals in unison, as if trying their best to push the wall of light in front of them to swallow up the divine underworld. They could vaguely see familiar figures inside. That's the drama queen? I Ching paused. He looked at the two people at the front of the group. Feng San Longzhen. Lone Moon stepped forward and shouted, "What are you doing? What array is this?" The person on the other side didn't reply, as if he didn't hear their shouts at all. He just maintained the formation with a dull expression. Their souls have been controlled by someone and have become one with the array. They can't hear us at all. Bai Zai's face darkened as he explained, the others should be the same. Everyone's hearts trembled. They looked at the countless figures outside the matrix in disbelief. There were at least tens of thousands of people here. Who could control so many people at the same time? Moreover, they were all from the divine race? They are all divine beings. How can they? Lone Moon stopped mid-sentence. His eyes widened and he exchanged a look with Shining. Both of them exclaimed in unison. Remnant soul. Everyone's faces paled. Originally, they thought that they were the only ones who had lost their remnant souls. But now, it seemed that all the people outside had lost their remnant souls. In other words, more than half of the people in the immortal world had been affected. F***CK, I have to admit that this maneuver is awesome. This was simply to destroy the netherworld, but who would do such a thing? Lone Moon turned and pulled I Ching back. In a low voice he instructed, Chef Bai Zai, the two of you stay away from the array. The wall of light was moving faster and faster. It carried with it a destructive aura. Without a doubt, if they touched the wall of light, they would be destroyed just like those wandering souls. The few of them had no choice but to retreat. Lone Moon scanned the crowd anxiously. We have to find the person controlling them quickly. Otherwise, the entire netherworld will be finished. Elder Lone Moon, look. Xian Tong suddenly pointed to the right and shouted. Everyone turned to look. Not far to the right, the wall of light suddenly emitted a beam of white light. It cut through the darkness of the netherworld and went straight to the deepest part of the netherworld. It seemed to be cutting a path. They could vaguely see a white figure flying towards the depths of the light. That should be the mastermind. Chase. Lone Moon reminded them. He turned and rode on his sword to chase after it. The others did not hesitate. They all followed. The figure in front was very fast. Even though everyone was trying their best to chase after it, they could only see a shadow. Lone Moon gritted his teeth and was about to speed up to chase after it. Father Nyo. Shining suddenly reached out and pulled him back. Lone Moon almost fell off from his sword. Shining, you dash, there's a river. She reminded him. She also grabbed Xian Tong and Bai Zai who were about to fly over. In river. Lone Moon was shocked. He almost forgot that there was such a thing in the netherworld. He looked at the person who was already a white dot. He became more anxious. Let's go around. Too slow. Just as he was about to ask Shining to bring them around, she suddenly spoke. Lone Moon's heart sank. He suddenly had a bad feeling. Wait, Shining, don't tell me dash. Before he could finish his sentence, he felt his collar tighten, and in an instant, his whole body was dragged forward. There was a buzzing sound in his ears and all that was left was a blur, and the three people who were also being dragged forward. The four of them, in the blink of an eye, the figure that was still a white dot in front of them was getting closer and closer. A moment later they felt their ears stop buzzing. They had already stopped in front of the white figure. It was a white-robed old man with a head of white hair. Even his beard was white. There seemed to be a habitual trace of a smile on his lips. He looked like an amiable old man. There was not a trace of hostility on his face. He did not look like someone who wanted to destroy the entire netherworld at all. "It's you?" The old man frowned. He looked straight at Lone Moon. There was no panic in his eyes. Instead he looked like he understood. "My prediction was right. You are the biggest variable. You know?" Ugh. Before Lone Moon could finish, his expression changed. The side effects of moving at such a high speed exploded. He turned and vomited. His face turned green. His vomiting seemed to have turned on some kind of switch. I Ching, Bai Zai and Shorty all turned their heads. Their faces turned green as they started vomiting. They looked like they were going to vomit their bile out. In an instant, there were only two people standing opposite each other and four people who were bent over and vomiting. Shining, the old man. The scene was extremely awkward. Straight face, he knew it would turn out like this. Shining had run away really fast. Lone Moon conjured several spells on himself before he managed to suppress the urge to vomit. He looked at the person opposite him. "Who exactly are you?" Before he could finish speaking, Bai Zai, who had also recovered, exclaimed, "Supreme Divinity Hong Yu." Chapter 273. The man snapped out of his trance and smiled at Bai Zai. "Supreme Divinity Bai Zai, it's been a long time. Why are you here?" Bai Zai could not believe his eyes. He had known Hong Yu for so many years. The other party had always been unconcerned about anything and had always been so kind. Although he was the person with the highest cultivation level in the divine world, he could not even bear to hurt the wild beasts. He could even share his cultivation techniques with others. "Hong Yu, you really want to destroy the underworld?" Hong Yu's smile deepened. He had no intention of hiding it at all. "This is my lifelong wish." "Why?" He had never thought that the person who wanted to destroy the underworld would be him. "Everything I do is for the people of the three realms." "People? Without the underworld, how can the people of the three realms reincarnate?" "I don't want to reincarnate?" Bai Zai was shocked. "What do you mean?" Hong Yu looked calm. His eyes darkened. A moment later he said, "Bai Zai, I'm different from you. I've been alive since ancient times. I've watched my friends and family leave me one by one. No matter if they were friends or foes in life, once they reincarnated, everything is gone. I'm the only one left. Although their souls are the same, they are no longer the people they were before. I've always been thinking about how I can find them." He sighed as if recalling something from the past. A look of loss flashed across his eyes. In this world, be it humans, immortals or gods, nothing lasts forever. Neither immortals nor gods can. Neither immortals nor gods can. One day we will all die and enter reincarnation to become someone else. His eyes darkened as he looked at the crowd. Everyone in the three realms pursues eternal life. Mortals want to ascend to become immortals, immortals want to become gods. As for the gods, they would still fall. I'm the only one left from the first batch of ancient gods. Does anyone still remember the ancient Qilin and the black tortoise? I've always wondered why we still came to an end when we had an unlimited lifespan." He suddenly smiled. He looked as kind as ever and his body was still glowing faintly. "In the end I finally understood. The reason why there is no true immortality in this world is because there is reincarnation." Bai Zai was shocked. He immediately understood why he had come to the underworld. "You want to destroy the reincarnation stage. Without reincarnation there is no reincarnation." Hong Yu did not seem the least bit afraid that Lone Moon would find out. He continued, "As long as the underworld is gone, there will be no reincarnation stage. The living beings of the three realms would not be pulled into the cycle of reincarnation, and there would be no such thing as birth and death. This is true eternal life for everyone in the three realms." "You." Bai Zai's eyes widened. "Do you know how many wandering souls your formation will kill?" "Without the reincarnation platform, they will not be able to reincarnate again. They will disappear from this world forever." A look of pity flashed across Hong Yu's face. He closed his eyes and said, "This is a necessary sacrifice." Bai Zai frowned. Lone Moon, on the other hand, took a step forward and summoned his immortal sword. It was obvious that this person had fallen into obsession and could not listen to anyone else. We will not let you destroy the underworld. Hong Yu glanced at him and gave him a meaningful look. You are indeed the biggest variable in this matter. Even though I asked Bian Xinshan to take on your appearance and block the heavenly Tao, you still managed to reach the divine world. Lone Moon paused. You know me? Bai Zhe should not have seen him before. I just predicted that you were once my biggest obstacle. He smiled as if he no longer cared about Lone Moon's existence. But now that things have come to this, you can no longer stop me. Before Lone Moon could figure out what he meant, Hong Yu suddenly waved his hand. Instantly, a transparent crystal ball appeared in his hand. There was a flash of white light inside. A huge suppressive force came pressing towards them. Everyone was forced to take a step back, but Hong Yu had already turned and flew forward. Stop. Holy shit. Bai Zhe, what are you doing? Just as he was about to stop Hong Yu, Bai Zhe suddenly turned around with his sword and attacked him. He instinctively dodged, but the other party attacked again. Bai Zhe, you don't really believe him, do you? Chef, help. He was just about to call for Chef's help when he turned around and his eyes widened. Chef had unsheathed his sword, but he was not helping Hong Yu. Instead he was stabbing at Xining. Xining. Xining subconsciously turned to the side, only to see the sword in Chef's hand directly brush past her body and fall to the ground, creating a huge pit. Yiqing. Lone Moon's eyes widened in disbelief. He took a closer look at Bai Zhe and Yiqing. They looked dazed as if they had lost their minds. He immediately thought of Feng San and Long Zhen. Shit, Xining and the others are being controlled by that old man Hong Yu. Lone Moon reacted. As he dodged, he shouted, Bai Zhe and Chef's remnant souls are in his hands. Xining frowned and turned to look in Hong Yu's direction. She realized that he had not gone far. He was standing not far away. He waved his hand in front of him. Immediately, the darkness around them dissipated, as if something had been opened. A golden light shot into the sky. It's the reincarnation stage. Lone Moon exclaimed. Xining turned to rush over, but Yiqing's figure flashed and he stood in front of her again. She paused. They're being controlled. They have no consciousness. They're only attacking you with their remnant soul's instincts. Lone Moon shouted. He can't hear you. Indeed, Yiqing did not reply. He conjured a seal and froze Xinying's body. He waved his hand expressionlessly. Instantly, a sky full of swords appeared. The cold swords were all aimed at her. He leapt up and lunged at her again. Xining was stunned. She did not know if she should attack. In the next moment, the sky full of swords started raining down on her. Lone Moon was shocked. Xining before he could finish speaking, there was a series of clanging sounds. Countless immortal swords landed around Xining. They formed a circle of swords, trapping her inside. Xining felt a weight on her neck. She bent down subconsciously. Then she felt something warm on her lips. Something was imprinted on her. Lone Moon, Xian Tong, Xining, was this acting on instinct? Xinying's mind went blank for a moment. The key thing was that a certain person was standing on tiptoe on the hilt of a sword and hugging her neck. He obviously had no experience in kissing. He just rubbed his lips against hers, then licked her, dissatisfied. Then, his saliva smeared all over her face. The corner of Xinying's mouth twitched. She tore the person in front of her off her body. Father Nyo, can I kill him? Lone Moon, before he had time to react, Bai Zhe had already broken through the array and was attacking him again. Holy shit, Bai Zhe was trying to kill him. They were all acting on instinct. Why was Chef so outstanding? Chapter 274. Help. He had no choice but to turn to Xining for help. Xining did not hesitate. In a flash, she grabbed Chef, who was still trying to climb onto her body, and came over. She grabbed Bai Zhe's sword-wielding hand and flung him to the ground. Lone Moon hurriedly activated his immortal chi and knocked the back of their heads twice. He also conjured a few spells to make them fall asleep. The two of them finally fell over. Sect Master Elder. Xian Tong pointed in front of her in a panic. The two of them looked up. Not far in front of them there was already a huge patch of white light. They could vaguely make out many figures. The array had already forced them here. So fast. Lone Moon hurriedly turned to look at Hong Yu. He was already standing on the reincarnation stage, surrounded by all sorts of unfamiliar array formations. The pearl that he had used to control Bai Zhe and Chef was floating on the reincarnation stage, glowing with a blinding white light. There seemed to be a huge amount of energy inside it that was about to explode. Everyone's remnant souls must be inside there. He's trying to make that soul pearl explode. Lone Moon's face paled. He exchanged a look with Shining and rushed over. Lone Moon activated all the sword chi in his body and swung his sword at Hongyu, who was in the middle of setting up an array. Just as the huge sword chi was about to hit Hongyu waved his hand and a wave of god power dissipated the sword chi. I told you you can't stop me. Hongyu's expression darkened. Lone Moon smiled and pointed in front of him. I can't, but she can. Hongyu turned back to see that Shining was already standing on the reincarnation stage. She reached out and scooped up the pearl that was floating on the stage. How can this be? Hongyu was shocked. Finally, a hint of anger appeared on his face. Put the soul pearl down. Immediately, the sky filled with wind blades attacked Shining. Shining, be careful of the soul pearl. Lone Moon shouted. Shining, who was just about to retaliate, paused. She turned and retreated several feet. The sky filled with wind blades missed their target. They all struck the surroundings of the reincarnation stage. The surrounding array dimmed. Even the huge red array that covered the entire underworld seemed to flicker. Lone Moon's eyes brightened. He immediately understood. Shining, the array around the reincarnation stage is the eye of the array outside. Destroy it. Shining did not hesitate. She held the soul pearl in one hand and punched the ground beneath her feet. With a loud bang, the entire array formation cracked. One by one, the cracks spread towards the surrounding array formations, and wherever they passed, the red light would instantly extinguish. The fissures continued to spread, splitting apart the withered ground in layers of array formations, and finally, the reincarnation platform. Shining, Lone Moon, Hongyu, Air. Father Nyo, if I said I didn't do it on purpose, would you believe me? Believe your sister. Lone Moon felt the urge to kill someone. Are you a freaking spy sent by a monkey? It's one thing for you to smash the ground, but why did you smash the reincarnation stage as well? She was in cahoots with Hongyu, wasn't she? Fortunately, there were only some cracks on the reincarnation stage. It had not collapsed yet. Crack. A crisp sound rang out. The ground suddenly shook. Before Shining could retract her fist, there was a sudden crash. A crack about a meter wide appeared on the ground, and it started to tear towards the reincarnation stage. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. What he wanted really came true. Lone Moon's face turned pale. Oh no, Father Nyo, give me your sword. Ha! Lone Moon was still confused. Shining took the sword from his hand and turned to the right. She gripped the sword tightly in her hand and stabbed it into the ground. There was a loud crash. An even bigger crack appeared on the right side, stopping the crack that was spreading towards the reincarnation stage. The crack stopped immediately. Lone Moon heaved a sigh of relief. Damn it, he was scared to death. Elder Sect Master. Suddenly, a voice filled with fear rang out. The two of them turned to look and their eyes widened. Shorty. They did not know when Shorty had been caught by Hongyu and placed on the reincarnation stage. What are you trying to do? The soul pearl is gone. This girl's soul is special. She can still destroy the reincarnation stage. Hongyu suddenly smiled at the two of them, as if he had accomplished something big. He grabbed Shen Tong and jumped into the reincarnation stage. Shorty. Lone Moon was shocked. It was too late to rush over. The two of them were no longer on the reincarnation stage. All he could see was a patch of golden light. Lone Moon was anxious. Hongyu was doing this on purpose. He had no intention of using the soul pearl to destroy the reincarnation stage. He wanted to use Shorty's soul. What should we do? Shining, can you see Shorty? No. Shining shook her head. Suddenly she recalled something. Father Nyo, the pearl containing Shorty's remnant soul is with you, right? Yes, but throw it in. What? Quick. Lone Moon retrieved the soul bead and threw it into the reincarnation stage. In the next moment there was a loud crash. The reincarnation stage began to collapse inch by inch. The golden light inside seemed to be blown away, scattering in all directions. Like fluorescent light, it slowly dimmed. Lone Moon looked at the surrounding fluorescent light in a daze. His eyes darkened. Shorty, she's already gone back. Shining suddenly interrupted. What? Lone Moon paused. He realized that Shining was looking in the direction where the fluorescent light was dispersing. He followed her gaze and found that the fluorescent light that had dimmed earlier was suddenly lighting up again. It was getting brighter and brighter. It was also spreading in all directions. The underworld, which had already shrunk by half due to Hongyu's array, was now expanding outwards. Golden fluorescent light was everywhere. It was like the floodgates had been opened. It flowed endlessly. Lone Moon finally understood why Shining said that the underworld was too bright. It was indeed very bright. Looking up, the entire underworld was covered in golden light. It looked like a boundless ocean. But he could faintly see a few blacking rivers. This was the source of the river of forgetfulness? Not the reincarnation stage but the entire underworld? Lone Moon was still in a daze. Suddenly the scenery in front of him changed. It went from a golden ocean to a blue sky. This was the divine territory of the ancient gods? Sect Master Elder Lone Moon. A familiar voice sounded from behind. Lone Moon turned back to see a familiar figure walking over from afar. Her lips were curved in a bright smile. Shorty. Lone Moon was overjoyed. That was great. She was fine. Just as he was about to step forward, Shining suddenly spoke. Mengpa. What? Chapter 275. Lone Moon paused. He glanced at Shining and then at Xian Tong, who was smiling even wider. What the hell? I'm still used to you calling me Shorty. Xian Tong smiled a little proudly and walked quickly to Shining. Sect Master is indeed as wise as ever. When did you realize that? I even sealed my memories and split off a remnant of my soul. Shining thought about it seriously. From when the God Fiend asked us to find you. Meng Po's mouth twitched. She looked listless. Didn't you find out from the beginning? Sect Master, can't you give me some face? Can't you coax me some other time? Shining nodded and continued. Then let's start from the first time I saw you and felt that your soul was abnormal. Wasn't that even earlier? Straight face. Wait. Lone Moon interrupted them, looking confused. Shining. Short. She's Mengpa. You knew from the beginning but you never told me? I thought you knew. Shining tilted her head. What the hell? How would I know if you didn't tell me? What's going on? Isn't she Qinji's mental demon? Mental demons are not souls. Even with the power of reincarnation, how can a complete soul be formed in just a few lifetimes? Before Shining could speak, Xian Tong explained, back then I was too bored in the divine underworld and wanted to go to the human world. I found the mental demon in the river of forgetfulness and out of curiosity, I captured it and reincarnated. Actually, I reincarnated many times before that. You went by yourself? Then why did the God Fiend ask us to find you? If she was Mengpa, how could the God Fiend not tell? Was he blind? He doesn't know that I reincarnated. She shook her head. They were all three ancient gods. They could predict everything in the world but not each other. What's more, I left a remnant of my soul by the river of forgetfulness. That's why he thought I was still in the divine underworld. Later, my remnant soul was captured by Hong Yu and he discovered that I was missing. Hong Yu had also noticed that this remnant soul was different from other souls. That was why he had pulled her back to the divine underworld from the immortal world. Then what's with the plot that the God Fiend gave me? It was clearly about her. Although I was a mortal after reincarnating, my luck was naturally different from others. Coincidentally, he wanted to solve the problem of the devil realm, so he included me in his calculations. The main female lead's luck in the plot was also because she was Mengpa. How torturous. No wonder Hong Yu had instructed Bian Xinchen to drag her to the divine realm by force. He even said that her soul was special. Wasn't it special? She was the original body of the river of forgetfulness. Lone Moon scanned the familiar yet strange person in front of him. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but the words did not come out. He clenched his fists by his side and said, Then now, are you Shorty or Mengpa? Both. Lone Moon frowned, not satisfied with this answer. Little Shorty, can't you come back? Mengpa did not reply, as if she did not know how to answer this question. Forget it. Lone Moon sighed. He did not want to know the answer again. Damn it. Was his invincible sect destined not to have any sword cultivator disciples? Since you're Mengpa, do you have a way to let those people who are missing remnant souls return? Without someone controlling them, their remnant souls will return on their own. She smiled and said, Mother Feng has already entered samsara. It's just that the scattered wandering souls in the divine realm will need some time to gather and form a soul. Lone Moon heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that everything was fine. But there's one person who is a little troublesome. Mengpa suddenly frowned as if she had encountered a problem. His soul is about to dissipate, but he is unwilling to enter samsara. Lone Moon paused. Instantly he knew who it was. Hong Yu. She nodded and waved her hand. In a moment, a white-haired, white-bearded old man appeared in front of the two of them. He still looked kind and amiable, but there was a hint of worry in his eyes. His body, which was brimming with God power, was now extremely transparent. It was as if he was about to shatter at any moment. You. Seeing Lone Moon, Hongyu paused. A moment later he seemed to have thought of something. His entire body bent and he fell to the ground as if he had lost his last bit of strength. His face was full of despair. I never thought that after so many years of planning, it would all be for naught. Lone Moon frowned. He did not know what to say. Hongyu was not exactly a bad person. He did not even have any selfish motives. He just wanted to keep everything in this world. He did not even hesitate to jump into the reincarnation stage and self-destruct. Bai Zhe said that when he opened a forum to preach, he did not reject anyone. More than 80% of the living beings in the divine realm had benefited from his kindness. Although his motive for doing this was probably to obtain a remnant soul from everyone to help him enter the divine realm, it was undeniable that he was sincere. What's more, he had spells to control souls. He could have been like Bian Xinshan and directly extracted the primary soul to increase his own god power, but he did not. Even in the end, he did not risk everything and let those who were being controlled rush in to fight to the death. He was indeed a kind person. It was just that he had gone in the wrong direction. Forget it. Hongyu sighed. His body became more and more transparent. His soul started to glow faintly. This is fate. The living beings in the three realms are destined to be unable to escape the pain of reincarnation. They can only struggle to survive in the mortal world. No matter how hard I try, I will not be able to fight against the heavens. Why do you say reincarnation is painful? Shining suddenly asked. Hongyu paused and looked at her. If reincarnation is not painful, why do people want to become immortals and seek the Tao? My lifelong wish is to help the living beings in the three realms escape this kind of reincarnation. But what does your lifelong wish have to do with the living beings in the three realms? What? Hongyu paused. I say, uncle, have you not done a census? There are many people who seek immortality, but most of them are mortals. But who doesn't want to live forever? Oh, that means you've asked the living beings in the three realms? This? He was speechless. You didn't even ask them and you're so sure that they all want to live forever? Shining sighed and sat down cross-legged. She supported her head with one hand and said, perhaps living forever is good, but only you think it's good. Everyone thinks differently. Who knows, there might be people who don't want to live anymore. Hongyu's face paled. He could not find the words to refute her. You didn't even ask them and you're making decisions for others. Everyone has the right to vote in the election of the president, right? Whether they live or die is fine. This is someone else's business. You can't take away their right to choose and then say that it's for their own good, can you? Uncle, as a god, you can't have such double standards. Chapter 276. Hongyu was completely stunned. His eyes became more and more dazed as if he had never thought of this before. Even his body began to tremble. Could it be that I really did something wrong? I don't know if it's right or wrong, but... Xin Ying's expression darkened. Everything has to be combined with theory and reality, right? Aren't you one of the earliest gods? Looks like you've never been reincarnated, right? You see, you've never been reincarnated, so how do you know it's not good? Xin Ying patted his almost transparent body. As the saying goes, only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you emerge victorious. Why don't you enter samsara and experience it first? The confusion on his face became more and more serious, but it was no longer as hopeless as before. Although he still couldn't figure it out, his soul body no longer turned into fluorescent light. Mengpa was overjoyed. She quickly waved her hand and Hongyu transformed into a stream of light that flew into the river of forgetfulness and entered the cycle of reincarnation. Not bad, you're good at bluffing. The corner of Loneman's mouth twitched as he nudged Shining. Father Nyo has taught me well. Bah. I didn't teach you that. Sure enough, sect leader is the best. Mengpa held on to Xin Ying's hand, looking very happy. Actually, to this world, every soul is very important. If he really doesn't want to reincarnate and disperses his soul, I'll be in trouble. Without reincarnation, can the living beings of the three realms really live forever? Lone Moon asked curiously. Granny Meng shook her head. Actually, there is a limit to how long a soul can exist in this world. If it lasts too long, it will slowly be consumed until the soul dissipates. The immortal God's Tao of cultivation only strengthens the soul and prolongs this period of time. On the other hand, the river of forgetfulness could allow the soul to return to its original state. if there was really no reincarnation. It won't be long before there will be no more living beings in the three realms, let alone eternal life. So that's how it is. You should have told old man Hongyu earlier. I've already returned to my main body, and I'm unable to interfere in the affairs of the three realms any longer. So this matter can't be decided by me. As if she'd seen through his thoughts, she added. Lone Moon looked around. Oh yes, where's Godfiend? He asked us to look for you. Now that we've found you, he should be coming out. Of course I'm here. As soon as his voice fell, a heavenly voice rang out. In the blink of an eye, a familiar figure landed in front of the two of them. Long time no see. The fiend celestial smiled amiably. I have to thank the two of you for finding Granny Meng. Only then can the three realms be at peace. Cut the crap. We've already found him. Shouldn't you tell us how to connect the two worlds? Lone Moon asked anxiously. Of course. The Godfiend laughed. With a wave of his hand, a scroll appeared in front of the two of them. This is the method to set up the formation to open the gate between the two worlds. As long as you pass through this array, you will be able to return to your world. Lone Moon took the scroll. He did not expect the Godfiend to give him the method so easily. He had left his original world for too long. If not for Xin Ying's sudden appearance, he would have forgotten everything there. We just need to set up an array? Xin Ying looked at the scroll curiously. Don't we need a pass? Pass? The Godfiend hesitated. He did not seem to understand what she meant. After a while he added, connecting the two worlds requires a lot of God power. So we need to open the realm gate in the divine realm. He waved his hand. Immediately, two exits appeared in front of the two of them. This is the exit between the divine realm and the immortal realm. Stay in the divine realm or return to the immortal realm. Please think twice. Shit, he knew it would not be so simple. They could only choose one of the two. You mean to say that we can't go to the other after choosing one? Xin Ying's eyes narrowed. The Godfiend stiffened. Then he smiled even more brightly. Of course not. It's just that it takes a long time to open the interrealm array, and it consumes a lot of cultivation. You have to be at least a divine supreme to open that array. Oh. Xin Ying glanced at the Godfiend. Something flashed across her eyes. She did not continue speaking. Then let's return to the divine realm first. Lone Moon made a decision quickly. Chef was still there anyway. It would not be too late to study the array later. Since that's the case, the two of you can return to the divine realm through the exit on the right. The Godfiend pointed to the right. Lone Moon and Xin Ying exchanged a look. Then they turned and walked to the right. Just as they were about to step through the door, Mengpa suddenly spoke. Sect Master. Huh? The two of them turned around subconsciously. Mengpa stared blankly at Lone Moon. An unreadable emotion flashed across her face, and her hands seemed to tremble by her side. A moment later, she smiled brightly and said, Sect Master, Elder Lone Moon, can I still return to Invincible Sect to see you? Lone Moon frowned. But he still nodded. Yes. Even if she was no longer Shorty. Thank you. Her smile deepened. But there was something in her eyes. Her smile did not reach her eyes. She waved at the two of them. Goodbye, Sect Master. Goodbye, Elder. Their only sword cultivator disciple was gone just like that. Lone Moon sighed. Then he turned and was about to step through the exit. Wait. Xin Ying suddenly pulled him back. She turned back to glance at the reluctant Mengpa, then looked at the Godfiend beside her. A moment later she said, Godfiend, this exit wouldn't be the plain door, would it? Just as she finished speaking, a white light flashed behind her. The door that had only 1 foot through suddenly moved towards the two of them. In an instant it swallowed them up. They could even vaguely see a certain someone's panicked expression. In the next moment, the scenery in front of the two of them changed. A passionate voice accompanied by a few beeping sounds came from the front. Do the two of you need a taxi? It's the cheapest in the entire film city. Which hotel are you going back to? A middle-aged man walked past the passenger seat and stuck his head out towards the two of them. You're still wearing ancient clothes. Did you just finish work? Xin Ying, Lone Moon, this is modern times. MP. A month later. I've seen it. The scroll that the Godfiend gave me did not contain any array at all. It's empty inside. He did it on purpose. From the beginning he planned to send the two of us back directly after finding Mengpa. This scum who destroys the bridge after crossing it. He even pretended to swear some heavenly Tao oath. I've only just thought it through. He's an existence equivalent to the heavenly Tao. Oaths are useless to him. Xining tapped on the computer while opening a bottle of Coke. And I've clearly spent hundreds of years in that world. Only 4 or 5 days have passed here. This time difference is too big. Oh. Xining looked up at him and sighed. So, you came to find me for this? Of course not. His expression darkened. I went back to the company recently and discovered some things. With a heavy expression, he picked up the iPad beside Xining and opened a video. He pushed it in front of her. Chapter 277. There was a video on the tablet. Lone Moon was standing on the stage introducing something in a low voice. His voice was sometimes high and sometimes low, accompanied by all kinds of repetitive music. This was a ghostly video? Father Nyo was watching this too. It's filmed quite well. Xining gave an evaluation. Well, my ass. Look at this face. He pointed at the video and then at himself. It's exactly the same as me now. And then? This is a video from 2 years ago. Lone Moon pointed at the title of the video. I remember this was before I transmigrated at a game conference. I hadn't transmigrated then and hadn't cultivated the body refinement technique. I shouldn't have looked like this. With that said, he switched the video back to Baidu and searched for a bunch of news about himself. Without exception, all of his photos turned into his current appearance. Look at the photos above, they're all exactly the same as me now. And when I went back to the company, no one felt that there was any change in my appearance. Oh. Xining thought about it carefully before replying. Maybe it's the plane's automatic error correction function. Xining continued typing on the keyboard as she replied, You're originally from this world. Transmigrating was just an accident. You didn't go through the proper procedures. Now that you're back, you have to rationalize your existence. Automatic error correction? Lone Moon faltered. That means, apart from you, everyone will think that I've always looked like this. Xining waved her hand. Don't worry, it won't affect you. How do you know all this? Xining looked calm. Isn't this common sense in the plane? Common sense, my ass. Why didn't he know there was such common sense? Wait. Lone Moon thought about her words carefully. You said that I didn't go through the proper procedures when I transmigrated. That means, there's a proper transmigration procedure in this world? There is. Her eyes shifted. Is there or isn't there? I don't know either. Xining shook her head. I don't have much contact with planes. I haven't graduated yet. Is there a place to learn such things? Lone Moon rolled his eyes at her. Where did you learn it from? Xinying's hand stiffened. Even the sound of her typing paused. An indecipherable emotion flashed across her face. After a while she said, It's better that you don't know. Lone Moon glanced at her from the corner of his eyes. Suddenly he thought of something. Could it be your sister? Her entire body trembled. Where is she? Take me to her. I don't know. She often doesn't come back for a month or two, but... She turned her head and said seriously, You'd better not see her. What? Lone Moon hesitated. How was he supposed to understand all these things without seeing her? No, I have to see her. I'll wait here for her to come back. Xining frowned. This is my house, you dash. Before she could finish, Lone Moon tapped lightly on the iPad. In the next moment, Xinying's phone rang with a notification. DD. Received WeChat transfer of ***** yuan. Alright, Father Nyo. No problem, Father Nyo. Her eyes lit up. Which room do you want to stay in? Would you like a cup of coffee with milk or sugar? F*** King retard. Lone Moon rolled his eyes at the pauper. Suddenly, his gaze landed on the computer in front of Xining. Oh yes, I saw you typing nonstop just now. What exactly were you doing? Wait, isn't this our company's back-end database? What do you want? Nothing much? Xining chuckled. I just deleted some useless information that was stored in your server last time. Information? Lone Moon's expression darkened. Why did I see that you opened the online game database? Air? Xining coughed. I also changed my online game data. Damn you. Don't change the game data just because others won't find it. Xining had already reopened the game interface and logged in. In less than 10 seconds, with a thud, she landed on the ground and turned into a box. Lone Moon, who was about to stop her, straight face, this game skill was completely inversely proportional to hacking skills. It was really refreshing. How on earth did you do it, turning into a box the moment you landed on the ground? Indeed, 10 times the defense is still not enough? Why don't you change it to 100 times? Enough, you might as well change it to invincible. Degree. Lonemun took a deep breath and looked at the person in front of him who had completely turned into an internet addict. His expression darkened and he sighed. Shining, don't you want to go back to that world? Shining paused and finally looked up from the computer screen. Father Nyo, do you want to go back? He faltered for a moment and clenched his fists by his side. After a while he sighed and said, yes. Although only 4 or 5 days had passed here, he had lived in that world for hundreds of years. He had long gotten used to life there. Even though he originally belonged to this world, to him now, it was this world that was foreign. Everything he was familiar with was already in another world. I want to go back. Shining frowned. After a while she said, but, even if I have a way to send you back. If you are alone, the God Fiend will still send you back. The corner of Loneman's mouth twitched. He seemed to have just thought of this problem. That's why you have to go back with me. I can't stay there for too long. Shining shrugged. What? Because. Shining was just about to explain when she suddenly remembered something. Her eyes widened. Oh yes, what's the date today? What time is it? Lone Moon faltered. He looked at the electronic calendar at the side and said, isn't it the 10th? It's almost 12. Xinying's face paled. She stood up abruptly. Oh no, go out for a while. Hurry. What? It's too late. Shining was just about to push him away when she looked at the time and pulled him back. Hurry and hide. Wait. Before Lone Moon could react, she pressed him under the table in the next moment. What the hell? In the next moment, there was a beep on Xinying's computer. The screen flashed and a figure that looked very similar to Xinying appeared on the screen. Littling. A low female voice sounded. Xinying's whole body stiffened. She turned around as if her whole body was stuck. She forced a smile and called out in a low voice. Big sister. Why do you still look so pale after resting for a few days? The person on the screen frowned. Did you slack off again and go somewhere to have fun? No. Xinying immediately sat up straight. She shook her head like a rattled drum and straightened her back. I didn't go anywhere. I finished all the follow-up work. Really? She sweated profusely. Chapter 278. The person on the other side nodded and did not ask any more questions. She changed the topic. What's the result of the analysis of the space storm in Area T98? I've already uploaded it to your account. Good, you handled it well this time. That's why you have more than a month off. But don't go overboard. You have to focus on work soon. You don't have much to do these few days. Don't stay at home. You have to go out for a walk. Do you want me to arrange a few places for you? No, there's no need. I'm afraid I won't be able to come back if you arrange it. What? You don't like it? The person's expression darkened. Xinying's heart skipped a beat. She immediately shook her head like a rattled drum. No, it's just that. I only have 1 day left. It's better not to affect my work. I don't have to worry too much if you think that way. She nodded. I've already transferred this month's living expenses to your account. Check it yourself. All right, sister. That's it then. There seems to be some problems around Area C recently. I'll come back again next month's Mid-Autumn Festival. I'll bring you some mooncakes on the way. Thank you, sister. Goodbye. The person on the screen nodded. Just as she was about to cut off the communication, her hand suddenly paused. Oh yes, who's that person beside you? Ha! Xinying's heart tightened. Her back instantly became wet. What, who? The person's expression darkened. The one lying under your table. The one you're stepping on with your right foot. No one? Xinying struggled. Is that so? The person's voice turned cold. She waved her hand. Suddenly a screen lit up in the room. It floated in all directions without any blind spots. The image also changed from the person on the screen to the image of Father Nyo being stepped on by her, unable to move. Xinying's toes trembled. She subconsciously retracted her right foot. Only then did Lone Moon climb up. He took a few deep breaths. Holy shit. The next time you step on someone, can you not make me face down? Murder? He was suffocating. Little. A bone-chilling voice rang out. He even added the word little in her name. Xinying felt a chill in her heart. Stay at home. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Wait, sister. Listen to me. Xinying reached out with Air Kang's hand, but it was too late. The screens around them all disappeared with a whoosh. Even the images on the computer returned to the scene where she fell to the ground and turned into a box. The entire room fell silent. Xining felt a sense of desolation in her heart. She even felt like crying. Note, winky face. He had said 5 minutes, but in less than 2 minutes, the space in the room distorted, as if someone had forcibly torn it apart, and a hole as tall as a human appeared. This was tearing through the void. How could this be? Before Lone Moon could react, a person dressed in red who looked 80% like Xining stepped out from inside. Her cold gaze swept across the two people in the room. It was just a casual glance, but Lone Moon felt his entire body stiffen. He had never felt this way before, even from the cheating. An immense sense of fear surged through him, causing his legs to turn to jelly. Shin. He subconsciously looked at Xining beside him. But he saw that the other party was one step ahead of him. She grabbed the pillow on the sofa and knelt down without hesitation. Sister, I was wrong. Lone Moon, where's your integrity? The person opposite him narrowed her eyes. The cold air around her became even thicker. She took 2 steps forward and sat directly on the sofa. She calmly made herself a cup of tea. She only spoke when the cup was almost empty. What did you do wrong? Xining hesitated. That's right, what did she do wrong? She knelt down out of habit. It's rare to see you bring someone back. She then turned and glanced at Lone Moon beside her. Boyfriend? Xining and Lone Moon subconsciously exchanged a look. They saw the disdain in each other's eyes. No. His voice was firm and decisive. No. Righteous words. Then why is he at home? The other party's expression clearly did not change. But there seemed to be a low pressure surrounding them, making it hard for them to breathe. Littling, what did I teach you? Have you forgotten? I don't mind helping you deepen your memory. Sister, it's not what you think. Huh? She suddenly seemed to discover something. She stood up and pinched Xining's chin. She scanned her from head to toe. Her expression immediately darkened. Why do you have the aura of another plane on you? Where have you been these few days? I've been to another plane. Seeing that the other party's expression had softened, Xining immediately told her everything about her transmigration. She did not hide anything. She only said what color Lan Hua's underwear was. This was the first time Lone Moon saw her speak so much in one go. She spoke for 2 full hours. The more the person opposite her listened, the deeper her frown became. You mean, someone has been pulling people from this plane without my permission? Yes, yes, yes. She nodded vigorously. Sister, you should beat up someone else. You've been there for so long. Didn't you feel anything wrong at all? Her expression turned cold. She looked like she had paid for all these years for nothing. I didn't before. I found out later. The letter that the God Fiend gave was indeed written in her sister's handwriting. But thinking about it carefully, Big Sister would never threaten her in writing. She would only use force. At first, I thought it was your holiday homework. And it was the super easy kind. So, she turned to look at Father Nyo. He's an extra question for your homework? Xining, Lone Moon, what the hell? Get up first. I have something to ask you. The person opposite her frowned. All right, sister. Xining sat back on the sofa. This time, have you found out the reason? Father Nyo is the main cause. It could be a chain reaction caused by the plane's operation. You weren't here then. I sensed it the most. That's why I was pulled over. Have you seen the manager over there? No. Plane sensing? No response. Could it be the original plane? There's a 50% chance. What are the coordinates of the plane? I only know it's the immortal spirit plane. I'll contact the manager over there first. I'll remember your question. She glanced at Xining. The latter shrunk out of habit. She then looked away and continued. Do you still know the rules? How dare you pull people from my plane? She stood up directly and was about to leave. Wait. Lone Moon finally cut in. He looked at the two of them with a confused expression. What are you talking about? Why can't I understand it all? What plane? What manager? Is he still on Earth? You didn't tell him? The person who was about to leave turned back to look at Xining. The corner of Xinying's mouth twitched. She mumbled weakly, Didn't you say I can't say? On account that I'm also a victim? She finally turned to glance at Lone Moon and said in a low voice, I'm Xinying's sister. The manager of this plane, Xinjing. Huh. Chapter 279. As an experienced CEO who had traveled through 2 worlds, met the ancient god of creation, fought against the strongest ultimate god, and cleared the Three Realms instance dungeon with a cheat. At this moment, Lone Moon felt that his common sense needed to be reset. For the first time, he realized that there were countless planes in this world other than the Xianxia world in this world. And the people who maintained the stability of these planes were the managers. They controlled the reproduction and destruction of all living beings in the entire plane, as well as diplomatic work with other planes. How big is our plane? He could not help but ask. Well, it's an entire universe. Xining said while eating her cake. So, your sister is really… He could not believe his ears. Although he had long felt that Xin Ying's environment might be different from others, he did not expect this to be the reason. Yes. Then you are, my sister's, assistant? The kind with no salary and only living expenses. Lone Moon looked at her again, then at the locked door in front of him. He still could not believe it. Why are you so afraid of your sister? I think she treats you quite well. Xin Ying's mouth twitched as if she thought of something. She said with a constipated expression, if you were thrown to the Zerg mother planet to train your body at the age of 5, had to self-study all the subjects at the age of 10, and dealt with the plane invasion at the age of 15, you would be the same as me. Lone Moon's heart went cold. The Zerg? Could it be the Zerg in the movies? Isn't she worried at all that you will be eaten by the Zerg? Lone Moon did not believe it. Won't she secretly follow you or something? Yes. Xining nodded. She follows me every time. Oh. I knew it. And then beat me up together with the Zerg. Are you really sisters? Wait, didn't you say that you repeated many times in primary school? Yes. Why? Finishing all the subjects by himself at the age of 10, he should be considered a super scholar. How could he repeat a year? Maybe. I misjudged the level of civilization on the mother planet. What do you mean? For example, primary school students firmly believe that 1 + 1 = 2. But if you ask a college student, will the answer be 2? Of course not. So, I accidentally made the answers too complicated. The teacher said that I didn't respect the exam paper and gave me a 0. So, it's just because we have different levels of knowledge? What was with this urge to light a candle for her? I was young at the time. I only understood it when I was 8 years old, but I had already been in the first grade for 3 years. Alright, our teacher has brought shame to earth. Lone Moon wanted to ask more questions, but Xining suddenly straightened up and sat up straight. Only then did he realize that Xin Jing had already come out of the room, but her expression wasn't very good. Her face was as cold as ice, making one feel nervous. I couldn't get in touch with the manager over there. Xin Jing frowned and said, maybe that place really is a primordial plane, and no manager has been born yet. But there are 3 ancient gods of creation in that world. We've met them before. Lone Moon said anxiously. They were the ones who pulled us into that world. Aren't they managers? That's just a companion deity of that world. Xin Jing glared at him with an expression that said, don't lower our manager. What do you mean? At the beginning of the plane's creation, there will be remnants of chaotic consciousness, but one day they will become one with the plane. Become one? Are you saying that they will also enter samsara? Yes. Xin Jing nodded. Managers are different from them. We have to be existences that are higher than that plane. Then can we go back to that plane? Before we confirm the situation over there, we can't for now. Xin Jing's voice was heavy. But we still have to settle this score. Little Ing. She suddenly turned to look at the person who was eating an apple beside her. What's wrong with you? Xining was stunned. She tilted her head. What's wrong? You've been eating since I came back? You've already made 6 trips to and fro from the fridge. Didn't you eat today? But I'm hungry. She felt wronged. Elder sister Xinjing, she's always been like this. Chef used to cook even more, Lone Moon replied subconsciously. Xinjing turned to glance at him. Who told you that she's always been like this? Huh. Lone Moon was stunned. He suddenly thought of something and his eyes widened. Wasn't she like this in the past? Xinjing's expression darkened. She stood up directly. You two follow me in. With that said, she turned and went back to the room just now. Lone Moon and Xin Ying exchanged a look and immediately followed. Lone Moon then saw what the room inside looked like. It was a snow-white space, but it was shockingly huge. He could not see the end of it. It did not look like the space that a house of less than 70 square meters should have. Apart from a pillar that did not even reach his waist, there was nothing else inside. He saw Xinjing walk directly to the side of the pillar. She reached out and brushed her hand over it. In an instant, the whole room was brightly lit. Countless light screens popped up all around them. There were all kinds of complicated data and pictures floating on them. It gave him the illusion that he had suddenly transmigrated into a futuristic world of technology. You two stand over there. Xinjing pointed to the right where there were 2 red lights. I'll test your data. The 2 obediently stood at the red lights. Xinjing tapped on one of the light screens. In the next moment, a row of data popped up around the 2 of them. There were more than 100 items. Lone Moon could not understand them, but he could faintly see the word SSS written on the last item. He subconsciously turned to look at Xining, only to find that the row of data next to her suddenly distorted. In a short while it was all messed up. And the last item had a red mark. Data error. What's going on? Lone Moon looked confused. His heart sank subconsciously. Even a blind person could see that there was something wrong with Xining. And it was 100% related to her non-stop eating. Can't be tested? Xinjing's voice deepened and became even colder. She quickly fiddled with the light screen several times. Row after row of data flashed past Xining. But they were all messed up. The red mark at the bottom of the screen had not been refreshed. Xinjing's expression darkened. A moment later she thought of something. She turned and tapped on the light screen beside her. Suddenly, a transparent table appeared in front of Xining. On it was a circular instrument. Since the scan can't find anything, try this. Xinjing pointed to the ball on the table. Body measuring instrument? Xining was stunned for a moment. She instantly recognized the instrument and picked it up. Sister, haven't I always had 3 stamina? Hold it. Xinjing did not answer. She only said one more sentence. Oh. Xining trembled. She immediately grabbed the ball. Her palms subconsciously tightened. There was only a cracking sound. The originally delicate instrument instantly broke into pieces. The electric light between her hands could still be seen faintly. Xining, Lone Moon, she wouldn't be killed, right? Chapter 280. Indeed. Xinjing sighed as if she had finally confirmed something. She walked over and said, something happened to you when you transmigrated to the plane, causing some kind of mutation. Your body's various indexes all broke through the limit. Xining faltered and replied subconsciously, didn't I break through many times? Since she was 5 years old. Xinjing's gaze turned cold. Alright, it's a mutation. Continue. Xining covered her mouth. This time, it's not an ordinary physical enhancement. She said in a low voice, it's possible that it broke through a certain limit. Then why did she eat so much? Lone Moon asked. When her body stats go up, the basic consumption naturally increases. She often feels hungry, it's just a sign that her body needs to replenish energy. Xining faltered. Big sister, then what kind of limit did I break through? I'm not sure about that. Xinjing frowned and paused for a while as if thinking of something. I have to go out and confirm some things. You stay here these few days. Your vacation will be extended. I'll come back to inform you when I find the answer. Vacation. Xinying's eyes lit up. Alright big sister, no problem big sister. Lone Moon, Xinjing, she's probably turned into a retard. Once Xinjing left, she did not return for a few days. Lone Moon's originally tense heart became bored as he waited. Father Nyo, don't you need to go back to work? Xining asked as she nibbled on the cake. I've already transferred the businesses under my name to my family yesterday, Lone Moon said nonchalantly. I've been gone for so long. I'm already rusty about the company's business and making money. I might as well hand it over to someone I'm familiar with. Xining suddenly thought of the invincible sex treasury, which was growing by the day. The business was rusty, but it was definitely not making money. That's it? There was no family feud, no quarrels between brothers? What's with that expression? Lone Moon turned and glared at her. Ask if you have any questions. Are you considered bankrupt like this? Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He picked up the iPad beside him and opened his account. Xining was instantly blinded by the row of zeros on the screen. Although I don't care about the company, I still get dividends every year, alright? Oh. Xining nodded and pointed to the pot. Then why don't you order takeout? Why do you want to cook for yourself? Lone Moon's hand stiffened. Shit, he had long forgotten that there was such a function in this world. Wait a minute. He turned back to look at Xining. Don't tell me you're saying that because you don't want to eat my dishes? No, he replied with a straight face. Your sister. Don't nod your head if you don't. Who am I doing this for? Take away that pig food expression of yours. Father Nyo, I have the number of a super delicious private restaurant. Scram. 30 minutes later. Father Nyo, do you think there's a chance of pulling Chef into this world? It's up to you whether you want to eat or not. Lone Moon glared at the person beside him. I'm not the one who's hungry. Shining sighed. She accepted her fate and began to eat. For the umpteenth time she thought of Chef every day. Lone Moon shamelessly played around in the stock market and casually earned a few million yuan. After a while he threw down the tablet in his hand, looking bored. He suddenly felt that life without having to raise a sect or tidy up a stall was so lonely. Do you want to play? Shining suddenly pointed to her computer screen. Lone Moon glanced at the game screen and gave her a look of disdain. Do you want to fall to the ground and become a box with you? You're someone who hacks my server every day. How can you be so lousy at playing games? Shining lowered her head and thought for a while. I'm just not used to such primitive operations. Primitive? In the past I used to play galactic online games. Galactic? Lone Moon's heart skipped a beat. You mean there are online games on other planets too? Shining turned and glanced at him. Wanna try? Can I? Lone Moon's eyes widened. As a native of Earth, of course he wanted to. What's more, he was originally in the internet business. The last time Xinjing helped them check their body data, he was already dazzled by the pile of high-tech equipment in the room. Wait, I'll help you hack a galactic account. Shining turned and began to type furiously on the keyboard. So, she relied on hacking to get online? Shining typed for a while and brought up a screen out of nowhere. After a while there was a beeping sound and she stopped. Done. She turned and took out a blue bracelet from the drawer and handed it over. What's this? A simplified version of the optical computer. Optical computer. What did that mean? Before Lone Moon could react, he subconsciously put on the bracelet. In an instant he felt his vision blur. The next moment he was already in a white world. Looking around, all he saw was white snow. He could even feel the coolness under his feet. He came in just like that? Didn't he need a name or something? He looked around but found no one around. There seemed to be a black dot in the distance approaching him. Shining. Lone Moon subconsciously ran over. What is this? Before he could finish, a loud roar came from the other side, causing the surrounding snow to tremble. Only then did Lone Moon see clearly what the approaching figure was. It was a monster. It had 8 long legs and was completely hairless. Its huge mouth took up half of its body. From time to time, disgusting mucus dripped out of its mouth. It looked like an ultimate monster in a horror movie. It was more disgusting than any demonic beast he had ever seen. Holy shit. What the hell was this? Lone Moon's heart sank. He had already cursed a certain unreliable person 100 times in his heart. He turned and ran back, but it was too late. The monster was moving extremely fast. In a short while it was less than 10 meters away from him. It was obvious that his 2 legs could not outrun its 8. His mind went blank. Damn it. How was he supposed to play this damn game? He refused to be turned into a box. Seeing that the monster's blade-like long legs were about to cut his body, he could only roll on the ground and avoid the attack. He rolled under the monster's body. In the next moment an even sharper roar came. The monster's mouth that took up half of its body opened, revealing rows of sharp teeth. It directly pounced towards him. Lone Moon's chest heaved a sigh of relief. He felt a familiar heat flow through his body. He subconsciously conjured a fire manipulation art. In the next moment, a fire dragon rushed out and struck the monster's mouth. With a shrill cry, the monster that was originally as tall as a small mountain turned into ashes. Chapter 281. Lone Moon breathed heavily. Such a realistic game. At that moment he really felt like he was going to die. He looked at his hand blankly. Was that a game skill? Father Nyo? Suddenly Xinying's voice sounded in his ear. He looked around but did not see anyone. After a while he noticed that in the lower right corner of his vision, there was a yellow envelope mark. He subconsciously nodded. Suddenly, a light screen popped up in front of him. It was Xining. Where the hell did you go? Lone Moon was full of anger. What the hell is this place? And what the hell was that monster just now? You're in the novice testing area. Before you pass the test I can't contact you. Novice testing area? He looked around and then at the monster that had just been burned to ashes. He thought about it carefully. Ignoring the terrifying appearance, The monster was so weak that it was quite like a novice monster. Could this be a holographic online game? It was too realistic. Did I pass? How do I get out? There is a moving mark in the lower left corner of your body. Lone Moon looked down. There was indeed a little green person in the lower left corner. He directly tapped it. There was a flash of white light beside him. In an instant he was already in a green mountain and clear water. In front of him were a few wooden tables and chairs. There were all kinds of fruits on them. Shining was sitting next to them, chewing noisily. Why didn't you tell me that there was a novice testing? Lone Moon could not help but be angry. You didn't wait for me to say it. Shining tilted her head. He came in too quickly. But that's just a novice testing. No one can't pass it. Lone Moon rolled his eyes at her. He picked up a fruit and took a bite. However, he discovered that it was sweet and juicy, leaving a lingering fragrance in his mouth. He had a look of astonishment on his face as he glanced at the fruit in his hand. Isn't this fruit a little too realistic? As expected of the interstellar era's high-tech, this holographic image was as though it was real. Realistic? Shining was stunned. Yes. Lone Moon was even more impressed. And that monster just now, even the smell and sound were real. Father Nyo. Shining suddenly stood up and snatched the fruit from his hand. You don't think these are fake, do you? Lone Moon looked at her strangely. Isn't this a holographic online game? It's an online game, but it's not holographic. Not holographic? Don't tell me it's true. He stopped mid-sentence and took a deep breath. *CK. We're not on Earth? Yes. Where is this place? Area C, Planet A8726. That optical computer of yours is teleportation device. Is everything here real? Yeah. Didn't you King say this is a game? This is the game planet. He thought about the operation interface that he had just seen. If this is a game, then if I die here I can revive. The Interstellar Alliance will issue a death notice. Flips table. How is this King game? Game my ass. Are there games where you can't revive when you fight against real monsters? Furthermore, does your sister know that we teleported to this planet? Shining stiffened. A moment later she said, don't mind the details. Details my ass. Do you know that you're courting death? She waved her wristband. There's a teleportation device. Instant reply. Suspicious face. JPG, wait a minute. He suddenly remembered something. Didn't you say that no one could pass the newbie test just now? Why did I see such a huge monster? Ordinary people would not be able to deal with such a monster. This might have something to do with your rating. The newbie test is based on your rating. It's different for everyone. Shining opened a screen and all of Lone Moon's data appeared in it. The last item said that his initial rating was SSS. What level are 3 S's? Lone Moon stared blankly. When Xinjing helped them check, it seemed to show this level too. Are all Earthlings this level? No. Shining shook her head. Then she opened another data. This is the rating for ordinary people on Earth. Lone Moon looked at the last item and saw that it said, F. What the hell was with that row of minus signs? Was this a joke? Wait, if the values of Earthlings were so low, why was his so high? You're not helping me cheat, are you? Shining shook her head. These are your values. Why did it turn out like this? Lone Moon was stunned. I can't beat that monster with my current strength. And if not for the fire elemental skills that come with this game, I would have died. There are no skills that come with the game. Nonsense, I clearly used it just now. If it's not from the game, could it be that I? Lone Moon was shocked. His eyes widened. You're not going to say that I brought my cultivation to this world, are you? Shining gave him a look as if she was looking at an idiot. You haven't used any spells since you came back? How can that be? I sensed it the first day I came back. I couldn't sense any spirit chi or immortal chi in this world. There isn't any here. Right then why? Wait a minute. He was stunned. Immortal chi didn't seem to have anything to do with cultivation. When cultivators use spells, they use the chi in their bodies. In other words, it didn't affect their cultivation. They just couldn't increase it. Elation surged in his heart. He waved his hand and summoned a sword spell. In an instant, a sky full of swords appeared. Lone Moon. He felt like he had picked up a treasure. Shining, Can we still go back to the newbie zone and whip the corpse of that little monster? Damn it. If he had known that he had cultivation, he wouldn't have been afraid of newbie monsters. King retard. Lone Moon wanted to ask more about this game planet, but Shining directly sent him a bunch of information. They were all game guides for newbies. Lone Moon looked at it for a while before he understood a little. Just like Shining said, this was really a game planet. But it was like a real person. There was no resurrection, no red or blue potions, no monster drops. But there were ranking points and monster attributes. There were all kinds of races on the planet as well as all kinds of interstellar monsters. The entire planet was divided into 6 zones, from F to A as well as high-risk Zone S. The monsters that grew there were divided according to their levels. F zone was the weakest and S zone was the strongest. They were now in S zone. The monster that Lone Moon met in the newbie zone was the special S-grade ice rock beast of the game planet. Once the monster died, it would automatically be marked as belonging to the player who killed it. The player could choose to sell it to the game company or deal with it themselves. And the skills that the player used to kill monsters depended on the special characteristics of the race. That meant that Lone Moon, who had the combat power of an S-grade, was a max-level player from the start. Father Nyo, let's go kill the rankings. Shining suddenly suggested. Kill the rankings? Lone Moon, who had roughly understood the operation, thought for a while and tapped on his wristband. 4 to 5 rankings appeared in an instant. They were all the data and rankings of different types of players. You mean this? Yes. Shining nodded vigorously. The points from killing monsters can be exchanged for star coins. Then they could buy more food. Why did he feel like there was a trap somewhere? Chapter 282. Lone Moon frowned and looked carefully at the rankings and the introductions below. I took a look just now. An S-class monster is worth 100 to 10,000 points each. He pointed to the number 100 under his name. This happens to be Zone S and the person in first place on the leaderboard has 3 million points. In other words, we have to kill at least 230 top S-rank monsters to surpass the first place and reach the top. You can do it. Shining gave him a thumbs up. Father Nyo is 3S rank. Lone Moon's eyes darkened. He turned back to look at her suspiciously. Why don't you go yourself? If my cultivation can be preserved, then your cheat should still be there, right? It's all because of Father Nyo. You're just F*King lazy, aren't you? Are you sure that the strongest beast on this planet is only S-class? No problem. Shining patted her chest. Why did he feel that these words were so unreliable? Lone Moon turned and looked around. He hesitated for a moment before standing up. Let's go. Forget it. Since they were already here, they might as well experience the customs of an alien planet. Just now, he had taken a look at the S-class monster, which was equivalent to a 10th grade magical beast in the immortal world. With his cultivation, dealing with a dozen of them was no problem at all. Moreover, he had Cheat Shin with him. As he spoke, he directly pulled the man up on his sword and flew towards the dangerous area marked on the map. He could not help but feel a little excited. After all, he was a peak expert of this world. He wanted to test the strength of those at the top of the food chain. Not long after he flew out of the safe zone, a red exclamation mark flashed before his eyes, and a notification instantly rang in his ears. Warning, S-class exotic beast discovered ahead. As expected of high technology, there was even a monster radar. Lone Moon landed and summoned his immortal sword, waiting for the monster to appear. Sure enough, in less than 3 breaths of time, the figure of a monster appeared in the distance. 2 monsters, 20 monsters, several hundred monsters. Lone Moon, Shining, Forol, Ngungo. Why are there so many? Crash. Why didn't you tell me that S-class monsters live in groups? I thought you knew. What the hell do you know? Lone Moon had the urge to tear the cheater beside him apart. You don't feel comfortable if you cheat me. This number, it was clearly a beast tied. It was no wonder that they hadn't encountered any other players along the way. No one had dared to come here and court death. Looking at the approaching monster, Lone Moon gritted his teeth and said without hesitation, "Let's go." As he spoke, he was about to take off on his sword. Wait. Shining pointed to the sky. There are some in the sky too. In the next moment, with a few swooshes, a group of densely packed figures appeared in the sky. Lone Moon. Damn it, I really want to break up. The herd of beasts was already nearing. Lone Moon had no choice but to bite the bullet and rush in. In an instant, the sky was filled with sword shadows. He didn't know if these so-called beasts were really just extraterrestrial animals. Although there were many of them, they couldn't compare to the demonic beasts in the cultivation world. They didn't have any intelligence at all. It was much easier to deal with them than a real beast tied. For a moment, all he could hear was the sound of points being transferred into his account. In less than an hour he had reached the top of the leaderboard and it was still increasing. But, no matter how easy it was, he couldn't handle hundreds and thousands of beasts pouncing on him. Go on, Father Nyo. Add your sister. Lone Moon turned back and glared at her. Wait, don't tell me you've been following behind me without moving. Your head. Help me. If you don't help, we're going to die. I can't help. Why? Lone Moon faltered. Then the next beast was already rushing over. He slashed down with his sword and urged loudly, I can't hold on any longer. Hurry up. Shining sighed and took the sword from his hand. She swung it in front of her. Instantly, a white light broke through the sky. There was a series of swooshing sounds. The S-grade beasts that were originally as dense as ants were cut in half at the waist. All destroyed in an instant. The surroundings, which had been filled with all kinds of roars, suddenly quieted down. Lone Moon heaved a sigh of relief. The array around him dimmed. Shining handed the sword back and suddenly pointed to the sky. Because of this. What? Lone Moon faltered. Before he could react, there was a sudden ding from the sky. It spread throughout the entire planet like a heavenly sound. A monotonous, mechanical voice came down. Ding. A large-scale abnormal clearing phenomenon has been detected. Confirmed users, Shining, Father Nyo, have brought a weapon of mass destruction into the game planet. This action has seriously affected the game's balance. These two users are now being reverted. They are prohibited from entering Area S for 2 months. In the next moment, Lone Moon saw the points on the light screen on his right. With a whoosh, it went from a few hundred million to a few hundred and then to tens of thousands. Finally, with a ding, it returned to the original 100 points. Lone Moon. Motherf asterisk her. Let's not talk about clearing first. What the hell was that ID called Father Nyo? What the hell was Father Nyo doing? For the nth time, he wanted to break up. Where are we going? Lone Moon, who had been forcefully teleported to Area A, glanced at Shining who was walking in front of him. To the market. Shining nibbled on a fruit and turned back. Why are we going to the market? Lone Moon was stunned. Shining stopped in her tracks and turned back with a serious expression. Father Nyo, I've analyzed it. The failure just now was because we only had a strong DPS output, but no support. Wasn't the failure just now because you cheated and got caught? You even implicated him. So we're going to form a healer. What the hell? The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He thought about it carefully. According to the game's routine, having a healer was indeed more secure. With Xin Ying's ability to be judged as a 100% cheat, she could do nothing but watch the show from the side. Although his battle strength was high, his energy consumption was a big problem. He was not a pervert like Chef, the kind who would risk his life in a fight. If there had been a healer by the side to heal the beast horde just now, he would not have had to revert because of Shining. Is there really a race called a healer in the galaxy? Lone Moon expressed his doubt. The game information just now said that this game did not have any game skills at all. In other words, the people who came in all relied on their own strength to kill monsters. Even if there were some with special abilities, it was just a special characteristic of the alien race. Just like the black race, they could become invisible at night. Don't worry, it's all right. Hearing her say that, he became even more worried. What was going on? Chapter 283. 30 minutes later. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. This is the nanny you're looking for? That's right. That's not right, isn't this just a tree? He scanned the tree ant in front of him from head to toe. The trunk was as wide as a human, with a head full of green leaves, and there were willow branches that swayed with the wind. From time to time, it even used the branches on both sides to push the leaves to the back of the trunk. Great, it's a mother tree. Shining, what's this? A close relative of Radish? Lone Moon pulled Shining over and lowered his voice. Trey planet, Shining explained. It knows wood elemental healing spells? No. Water elemental? No. Then it's not as good as Radish. Lone Moon glared at her. Don't worry, the Trey planet is a rare race in the galaxy. It has a very special racial talent and has S-grade combat power. It's very hard to find one. Didn't you say it's a nanny? Yes. Shining nodded, then turned to look at the Trey ant behind her, giving her an encouraging look as if asking her to show off. The female Trey ant smiled and really took 2 steps forward. She closed her eyes and clenched her fists by her side. Her whole body tensed up and even her body arched as if she was using all her strength. Lone Moon was shocked and could not help but widen his eyes. Could it be that this treant really had amazing abilities? The treant's expression became tenser and tenser, its body also arched like a shrimp, getting lower and lower. The green leaves on its head suddenly shone with a green light, and in the next moment, its body suddenly straightened. With a whoosh, the layers of green leaves on its head suddenly grew a tree full of fruits. Straight face, the treant smiled brightly and plucked the fruits, then handed them to Shining beside her. Want some? Shining handed a red one over. Lone Moon, Flip's table. This is the so-called nanny. You just want to bring a mobile fruit stall, right? For all, an hour later. Are you sure that this monster in Zone A has 100,000 points? Lone Moon pointed to the cave in front of them and asked. Yes. This is the #1 monster in Zone A on the bounty list. Shining brought up a light screen and pointed. Indeed, it was displayed as an A+ grade beast. Only one, no others? No. There's no beast tied or anything like that. Absolutely not. Alright, I'll trust you one more time. Lone Moon then conjured a wind seal. Instantly, it turned into several wind blades and flew into the cave. Not long after, there was movement inside. With a roar, the ground shook and a huge airflow came out from inside. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared. Lone Moon's heart tightened and he took a few steps back. It looked like a big guy. He immediately set up a defensive formation around him, gripped his sword tightly, and stared at the entrance of the cave. The black shadow was getting closer and closer, and he could faintly hear a strange rustling noise. After a while, a long slug appeared at the entrance of the cave. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He looked at the soft, jelly-like, translucent little monster on the ground in disbelief. Was this the monster that ranked first on the bounty list in Area A? A woo! The monster let out a non-threatening roar at him. Lone Moon frowned. Alright, Shining did not trick him this time. It was really just a small monster in Area A. He casually struck it with his sword, and with a loud crack, the jelly was smashed into 5 or 6 pieces. Let's go? Lone Moon turned and waved at Shining. He was just about to keep his sword. Suddenly, a series of roars came from behind him. When he turned around, he saw 4 or 5 soft slugs pouncing on him. What was going on? Lone Moon was stunned. He subconsciously struck out a few more sword auras, smashing the slugs again. However, the splattered pieces of flesh wriggled, and in the blink of an eye, turned into a new monster. In an instant, the ground was surrounded by dozens of identical slugs. This was... Shining, didn't you say that there was only one monster? Just now, it was one. One my ass. Why didn't you say that it could split? I just found out too. Damn you. The small monsters on the ground were already moving towards them. Some even arched their bodies and leaped towards them. However, they were repelled by the array around Lone Moon. In an instant, they split into 2 halves, and then immediately turned into 2 new monsters. In less than 10 minutes, the few of them were surrounded by densely packed monsters. These monsters could not be attacked forcefully. Otherwise, there would only be more and more of them. Shining, the only group attacker, could not attack. What should they do? Lone Moon's heart sank. Suddenly, he remembered that they had another person in their group. He turned to look at the healer behind them. That tree? Before he could finish speaking, they heard the sound of digging. The tree man who had been following behind them just now had dug a big hole and jumped in at lightning speed. He waved his branches and buried the entire tree tightly. Lone Moon, Shining, MMP, Fu *K, wasn't it supposed to be a rare race? Was it that rare to see one? Perhaps it was too obvious that he had betrayed his teammate. The ground arched and with a grunt, a red fruit rolled out. The 2 of them, did this count as giving them a mouthful of milk? This was not a gaming planet. This was a F*King retarded planet. Lone Moon and Shining finally completed this reward mission, although it took them a whole 2 hours. Just as the split slug was about to bury the 2 of them, he realized that these small monsters were actually afraid of thunder. He immediately made a decision and swept over with a lightning spell. Instantly, the entire ground was filled with a thick burnt smell. Not a single monster was left. The system screen beside him also made a ding sound. It showed, reward mission completed. The points below also jumped to 50,100 with a jingle. The other 50,000 points were in the account of his teammate Shining, who had been watching the whole thing and only accidentally stepped on one. As for the tree man who had been idling the whole time, he had no output at all. He did not gain any points. Where to next? Lone Moon looked at Shining. After thinking for a moment, he immediately opened the ranking list. He decided to look at it himself. Offline, go home. Lone Moon turned to look at her in surprise. You're not going to kill the ranking? Shining sighed. I'm so tired. If he continued playing, Big Sis would find out. Tired my ass. Wasn't he always the one fighting the monsters? The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He looked at the time beside him. Thinking of something, he did not object and directly pressed the logout button beside him. In the next moment, a stream of light flashed past them. They had already returned to the house that was less than 70 square meters. He looked at the bracelet on his hand called optical computer. For a moment he did not know how to react. He really went to another planet. He subconsciously activated his immortal chi. Instantly, a ball of fire appeared in his palm. It seemed like Shining was right. It was not just on the gaming planet. His cultivation was indeed always there. Chapter 284. Lone Moon and Shining stayed at home for 5 to 6 days, but Xinjing still did not return. After firmly rejecting Xin Ying's game invitation, Shining, who did not have a criminal partner, could only continue playing her original box game. Father Niu, on the other hand, was fascinated by the star web technology, and had been studying the various operations of the wristband. I'm so hungry. Shining sprawled on the sofa like mud, completely losing the energy she had when she was playing. Father Niu, are you sure you don't want to try the private cuisine I mentioned? Get lost. Lone Moon rolled his eyes and his expression darkened. He picked up the phone on the table again, and ordered a bunch of takeaways, treating it as payment for the accommodation fee. He turned to look at a certain foodie and frowned. He did not know when Xinjing would return. An awkward feeling flashed across his heart. He had always thought that Xin Ying's mouth would never be idle because she was born to be a foodie, in addition to her terrifying cheat-like abilities, so he did not even consider whether there was something wrong with her body. Shining was also someone who did not care. If Xinjing did not see it, perhaps no one would ever notice and might even advise her to eat less. No, perhaps Chef sensed it, so once it was mealtime, he did not hesitate to go into the kitchen to cook. He clearly paid extra attention to her every move, but never worried that she would eat too much. Lone Moon felt a rising sense of guilt in his heart, suddenly feeling that he was a little neglectful as a father. Should he read more books like parenting guides? Oink oink oink, the takeaways had not arrived yet. Lone Moon took out the cake he ordered in the morning from the fridge, planning to fill Xin Ying's stomach first. Suddenly, a series of beeping sounds sounded in the house like an alarm, and the wristband that he had not taken off also went numb. Plane alert. Xin Ying, who was lying on the sofa like a dead fish, suddenly stood up. She walked quickly to the table in front of her, not knowing where she touched. Instantly, a light screen popped up, only to see a familiar blue planet appear on it. This is Little Ing. In the next moment, a male voice suddenly sounded, another light screen lit up in the air, and a man in a blue uniform appeared on the screen. Kaitian? Shining was stunned. The corner of the man's mouth twitched. I've told you many times to call me Big Brother. Am I that old? The person on the screen shook his head. You saw the alarm just now, right? Shining nodded. I know you are on leave now, but that position is closest to you. I can't leave Zone T right now. Can I trouble you to take a look? I'm not going. Don't be like that, Little Ing. Colleagues should help each other and love each other. There is no love in overtime. Little Ing. Kai Tian looked like he was on the verge of tears. He seemed to have thought of something. Gritting his teeth, he said, Star Chen's new online game qualifies for internal testing. Deal. Send me the coordinates. Shining quickly clicked on the screen. Within seconds, a set of data was sent over. This data is a little strange. There's no similar or identical data before this. You have to be careful. All right. Thank you for your hard work. The other party nodded, and the image disappeared in a flash. Only then did Lone Moon walk over curiously. Who was that? My older sister's other assistant, Shining replied casually. After thinking for a moment, she added, my colleague. How many assistants does your older sister have? Why did it feel like the so-called plane management was actually a huge organization? Just 2. Shining said as she checked the data. Under normal circumstances there are no assistants, but Kai Tian's situation is a little special. Special? He doesn't belong to this plane, but for some reason his plane coordinates can't be opened. My older sister had to let him stay for now. Lone Moon nodded and turned to look at her. What about you? Me? Shining faltered. She said righteously, of course I got in through the back door. Did she have to be so open and aboveboard? All right. Shining closed the data in front of her and turned to Lone Moon. Father Nyo, let's go on a trip? Lone Moon rolled his eyes and exposed her. You just don't know the way, do you? Normally, plane alarms would only be triggered when something happened somewhere that affected the stability of the entire plane. For example, space storms, space-time turbulence, plane invasion and so on. These situations could only be sensed by the plane manager. But it was clear that the manager of this plane with the surname Shin was quite impressive. She directly created this alarm system. Once she discovered something abnormal, it would be reported. Lone Moon was worried as he flew on his sword in the direction of the map. This was not the immortal cultivation world, it was the modern world. Although Shining often unconsciously looked down on the technology on Earth, if he flew randomly on his sword, he might accidentally be detected by a radar and be bombed as an intruder. He wouldn't even have a place to cry at that time. Fortunately, Shining did not get disconnected this time. The simplified optical computer that she gave him could indeed block all detection. Even if they met a few planes on the way, it could activate the automatic invisibility function. It was much more useful than any aura-concealing talisman. For some reason he felt a sense of pride for having such high technology. It's here, right? Lone Moon looked down at the endless sea and stopped. Shining checked the data and nodded. It's here. Why is there nothing? It's not time yet. Shining gestured for him to fly down and stop on a small island below. She tapped on the wristband on her hand. Instantly, a light screen popped up in front of them. Rows of data appeared. At the top was a countdown timer. There were less than 5 minutes left. Shin Ying's fingers moved like shadows on the light screen. Rows of data flashed across the light screen. Strange. She suddenly frowned. What's wrong? This data doesn't seem like a space or space-time disturbance. What do you mean? This is a plane invasion. Something is coming. Shin Ying's expression darkened. She pointed to the sky. Indeed, in the next moment, there was a distortion in front of them. The empty space seemed to be about to be broken open by something. A huge bulge appeared. It's coming out. Shin Ying hurriedly took a few steps back. Her expression was unprecedentedly serious. Even Lone Moon could not help but feel nervous. What could it be? I don't know either. If it's from other planes, it's possible that it could directly destroy the entire plane. Then what should we do? Rush back or disappear it? Lone Moon's heart sank. He instantly summoned his immortal sword. His hands did not stop. One array after another appeared in the surroundings. One look and he knew it was not something good. The distortion in the space became more and more intense. The countdown timer at the side was also nearing its end. Finally, it was below 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Chapter 285. With a loud bang, the space in front of them seemed to be torn open by someone. A huge aura came towards them, bringing with it scorching warmth. In the next moment, a flame broke through the air, bringing with it an aura that could burn everything. Even the seawater below them started to burn. The sword array in Lone Moon's hand rose up, and the sky full of sword rain attacked. Before they could attack the plane gap, a huge golden sword appeared, and the overwhelming sword chi was pushed back, and the sword rain in the sky immediately fell like rain. Quite powerful. His expression darkened, and he was about to summon his sword intent. Wait. Shining, who was beside him, suddenly pulled him back. What's wrong? He looked up and saw a person slowly walking out of the torn gap, an extremely disheveled figure. His hair was messy and he was covered in blood. His body was covered with deep wounds, and one of his hands was hanging weakly by his side. His eyes were stained with blood, and he looked at them from afar. Instantly, his eyes became misty, and the crazed look in his eyes softened, revealing a familiar expression. Chef. Lone Moon's eyes widened in disbelief. In the next moment, the bloody figure flashed and landed in front of the two of them. He reached out and pulled Shining into his arms. A low voice sounded in their ears with a strong sense of grievance. Master. With that said, as if he had used up the last bit of energy, his body loosened and he slid down against Shining. Seeing that he was about to fall, Shining subconsciously grabbed him and helped him up. He fainted. Lone Moon pulled his hand and anxiously checked his meridians. His face paled instantly and he cursed, "Holy shit, he's injured like this and he's still alive." He turned back to look at the rift in the sky that had disappeared. How did he get here? Let's go back first. Shining said in a low voice and turned to point at something. Instantly, a rift opened up beside the two of them, and they could faintly see the familiar room inside. Lone Moon immediately helped Chef up, who was like a broken doll on the ground, and went through. In the blink of an eye they were back in that room. Wait, don't put him there, come in with me. Lone Moon was just about to place her on the sofa when Shining pointed to the room beside her and walked in first. It was the same empty room as last time, but this time, there was a rectangular table in the middle. Put Chef up there. Shining pointed to the center. Lone Moon immediately helped her up. Instantly, a red light swept across the stage. At the same time, rows of data appeared on top. Shining didn't say anything. She just directly operated on the screen. The screen began to light up with various colored lights. With each stroke, Chef's expression became a little better. The scars on his body that seemed to be able to break his immortal bones also began to heal slowly at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lone Moon also looked nervously at Chef, who was barely breathing. The room quietened down instantly, and only the sound of the continuous beeping of data could be heard. Looking at Chef's injuries, he knew that it would be very difficult to treat. What's more, there was no immortal chi or spirit chi in this world, so there was nothing he could do. Xinying's fingers did not stop moving. Her expression was solemn, as if she was performing a major surgery. She focused all her attention on the operation. She only stopped after a full day and night. His condition has been stabilized. Xinying's expression softened. Then she turned to look at Lone Moon behind her. Her tense shoulders then collapsed out of habit. Next, we just have to wait for him to wake up. Lone Moon nodded. He glanced at the unconscious Chef and found that his complexion had indeed improved. He was no longer as pale as a piece of white paper. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. He turned and walked to the door. Then let's go out and wait for him to wake up. Sigh, all of them were so worrisome. Shining was just about to follow when she suddenly felt the corner of her clothes tighten. She looked down and realized that Chef had grabbed the corner of her clothes unknowingly. He was clearly unconscious, but he was holding on very tightly. His blood-stained fingers dyed the entire corner of her clothes a glaring red. What's the matter? Seeing that she did not move, Lone Moon turned back. Shining was just about to pull his hand away when she paused. Slowly she retracted her hand. I have to stay here to monitor his data. You can go out first. With that said, she turned and tapped on the screen. Instantly, a floating cushion appeared beside her. She sat down directly and began to scan large amounts of data. Lone Moon did not mind. He could not help here anyway. He directly turned and went back to the living room. This time Chef slept for a whole 5 days and 6 nights. Shining was almost suspecting that there was something wrong with the treatment device. Only then did she feel the treatment table beside her shake. In the next moment she felt a warmth on her left cheek. A slightly trembling hand brushed over it. Master? Chef stared straight at her with wide eyes. His eyes were misty as if he was about to cry in the next moment. Xinying's heart sank for no reason. Then she opened her mouth and said, "You're awake?" She coughed and shook off that strange uncomfortable feeling. She turned and opened the communication device in the living room. Father Nyo, Chef is awake. Almost instantly the room door opened with a bang. Lone Moon blew in like the wind. Chef is awake? Are you all right? He sized up the person sitting on the treatment table and let out a long sigh of relief. Why do you always get yourself into this state? What's going on this time? Let me tell you, this is not the world over there. If you die here, we can't do anything about it. But I Ching still only looked at Shining as if he did not hear Lone Moon's words at all. After a while, he held Xinying's hand with some grievance and nervousness. Master, I couldn't find you. I searched the entire 3 realms, and couldn't find you. His voice was especially low, as if he was holding something fragile. If he was not careful, it would break. Don't you need me anymore? Lone Moon looked at the person in front of him. This was the first time he saw Chef so fragile. His heart ached for no reason. His accusatory tone instantly softened. Go. Well, this is our fault. But we were sent back too suddenly. There was no time to inform you. It's all that God Fiend's fault. Thinking of this, he wanted to go back and beat him up. Let's go out and talk. Shining stood up. I Ching, who was beside her, looked up as she moved. His body subconsciously tensed up as if he was afraid that she would disappear. She stopped in her tracks and turned to hold his hand. She directly led him out. I Ching was especially obedient the whole time. He followed her step by step. Every step he took seemed to be measured in advance. He was afraid that he would lose her just like that. How on earth did you get hurt like this? Lone Moon looked at him suspiciously. Seeing that his whole body was covered in dried blood, he frowned. He turned to find a set of clothes and threw them over. Change your clothes first. Your Dharma robe is useless now, and you can't wear this here. Chapter 286. I Ching subconsciously took it and looked at the clothes in his hands, then at Shining beside him. He stood there without moving. Why are you looking at her? Lone Moon's mouth twitched. Can she still help you change? He still did not move, but his expression became more and more tense. Shining looked at him and suddenly said, I'm not leaving. I Ching's expression relaxed a little. He tugged at the few pieces of cloth in his hands, a trace of confusion flashing in his eyes. What is this? Why are the clothes in sections? He forgot that Chef was not from this world. Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He took the clothes from his hands and glanced at Shining on the sofa. He turned and directly pulled her into the toilet at the side. Come in. With that said, he closed the door with a bang, blocking a certain person's view. From time to time, there were some discussions inside. Take off your pants too. What? Just take it off when I tell you to. So much nonsense. What are you dawdling for? And your underwear. Bend down a little, raise your legs higher. Raise them higher. How can I move if you don't raise them higher? Are you done? All right. Come closer. If you can't stand properly, support me. This thing of yours, it's so tight. You're not even afraid of pain. What are you afraid of? Bear with it. Shining outside the door, she felt like she heard something dirty. The two of them struggled for nearly 20 minutes before coming out of the toilet. I Ching had already changed completely. He was clearly wearing the same white shirt as Lone Moon. Father Nyo was a domineering CO with, I'm very rich written all over him, but I Ching was like a young man who had just left school. His whole body exuded a fresh and sunny aura, like a boy next door who was not good with words. I Ching tugged at the shirt on his body awkwardly. His gaze instantly fixed on Shining as if he could not move away from her. He hesitated for a moment before saying, Master. It's getting late. Are you hungry? Do you want me to make a few dishes? Lone Moon. Shining, did he have to get into work so quickly? Unexpectedly, Shining did not agree. She continued to nibble on the apple as she glanced at his long hair. Patting the sofa beside her, she said, Come here for a while. Without hesitation, I Ching quickly walked over to them. Squat down. Master. She took out a black rubber band from the coffee table and pointed behind him. There. I Ching paused, then instantly understood. He obediently squatted in front of her, hugging his knees and curling himself into a ball. He felt her fingers smoothing his hair over and over again, as if she was smoothing his emotions. He suddenly felt as if his heart had been hollowed out, and only anxiousness and despair remained when he was still unable to find a single trace of her in these past few thousand years. Even the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up into a smile. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched as he watched the two of them combing their hair. There was a sour smell in the air, and after smelling it for a long time he felt a little full. Chef, how on earth did you come to this world? Lone Moon changed the topic. I Ching's expression darkened. After a while he said in a low voice, I couldn't find you, so I returned to the immortal world and found the God Fiend. I asked him to help me open the realm gate. He would help you? Lone Moon expressed his doubt. That grandson was very cunning. From beginning to end he did not say a single word of truth. He was a classic example of burning bridges after crossing the river. If not for him, how could they have been directly teleported back? He indeed did not agree. I Ching frowned. So I could only fight him. Lone Moon's eyes widened. The injuries on your body were caused by him? Awesome. He actually dared to challenge the ancient god of creation alone. That's not it. I Ching shook his head. These were caused by the turbulence inside when I passed through the realm gate. What turbulence? Lone Moon subconsciously turned to look at Shining. We didn't see any turbulence when we came back. We didn't. Shining tugged at I Ching's hair as she said, We were originally from this side. We won't be repelled by the plane. Chef had forced his way in. Even if the gate was opened, he would still be attacked by the turbulence. So that's why. Lone Moon nodded. He looked at I Ching again. He felt that he was different from before, but he could not tell what was different. You're now a divine supreme. Lone Moon scanned him from head to toe. Only then did he notice that his cultivation had increased a lot. It seemed to be even higher than the previous Hongyu. No. More accurately speaking, the feeling that he gave off was somewhat similar to the God Fiend from before. If not for the fact that he had just recovered from his injuries, Lone Moon would not have been able to withstand the suppressive force that I Ching casually released. What's more, I Ching no longer looked like a child. You fought the God Fiend? Not really. I Ching's expression darkened. At the end of the battle he could not even tell who won and who lost. Then why did he open the gate for you? Maybe because I went there more often? More often. Lone Moon's mouth twitched. How many times did you fight him? Hundreds of times. He could not remember clearly. So he went there every day to find people to fight. Wait a minute. Could it be that the God Fiend was annoyed by Chef, so he opened the plane door and sent him over? Later I met Shorty. She fought with me, and the God Fiend agreed to open the door to the other world. Mengpa? A strange expression flashed across Lone Moon's face. Why did she help you? I don't know either. But when we returned to the immortal world and attracted the God Fiend, it was all thanks to her help. Otherwise he might not even know where the God Fiend was. Lone Moon clenched his fists. For a moment he could not understand why Mengpa wanted to help I Ching. Like the God Fiend, she was one of the three ancient gods of creation. She should be on the God Fiend's side. What's more, when they were suddenly sent back, she knew about it and agreed with the God Fiend. But why did she help I Ching this time? Was she Shorty or Mengpa? Shining suddenly spoke. How long have we been gone? I Ching paused. Even his body trembled. After a moment of silence, he said in a deep voice, 3,000 years. What? Lone Moon was shocked. Although he knew that time passed differently in the other world, he did not expect it to take so long. But they didn't expect that so much time had passed. This meant that Chef had been looking for them all these years. For a moment, his heart was filled with mixed feelings. Although Chef looked normal on the surface, he did not give up looking for them for so many years, and even chased them all the way to this plane. Lone Moon could not imagine how he lived all these years. Fortunately, I succeeded. I Ching did not seem to mind at all. He leaned slightly back against Shining, looking satisfied. As long as he found Master, it was good. But now that he found her, all these years were worth it. Xinying's hand paused. After a moment, she continued combing. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.